Chapter 53. The forest was filled with towering trees that towered into the sky. Below the trees were thorny shrubs, and there was almost no path. This was the most suitable situation for escaping. The sun-moon transformation allowed him to maneuver through the forest with ease. He twisted and turned repeatedly, evading his pursuers. Crackle. The sound of trees breaking came from behind, as if a giant mountain god was cutting a path. The barbarian marshal refused to let go. He was determined to kill him. No trees, thorns, or even rocks could stop him. The ancient halberd in his hand swung casually, and everything in its path was destroyed. Gradually, he went deeper into the forest, away from the main road. Clipchamp felt that he would be caught by the barbarian marshal soon. Fortunately, he had a trump card. Seeing a cave in front of him, he quickly went in. Bang! 3 breaths after he entered the cave, the barbarian marshal reached the entrance. Then, the Blood Soul Hierarch and the 100 Poisons Taoist followed. He went into the cave. The barbarian marshal spoke in the barbarian language. The leader of the Blood Soul Hierarch kicked out a pebble, which created a strong gust of wind that shot into the cave. Hearing the echo, a smile appeared on his face. "Marshal, this kid is walking right into our trap. There are no other exits in the cave, and it is not deep. We can go in and capture him." He was experienced. He could tell the size of the cave and the other exits by the sound of a stone thrown. He could even tell if there were beasts inside. "Wait, I'll throw a poisonous mist into the cave and poison him to death first." The 100 Poisons Taoist was covered in wounds. He was furious. He was almost killed by Clipchamp. Naturally, he wanted to tear him to pieces. "Wait." The barbarian marshal pressed his hand down to stop the 100 Poisons Taoist. "It's not appropriate to poison this person. I want to capture him and sacrifice him to the god. He must be alive." As he spoke, he also went into the cave. But after a while, he came out empty-handed. The cave is not big, and there are no other exits. But this brat is gone. What is going on? How is this possible? The Blood Soul cult master dove in. The cave was indeed not big, and there were no forks in the road. The 4 walls were bare, and it could not hide anyone. He looked around casually. It was a dead end, but Clipchamp had disappeared. At this time, the 100 Poisons Taoist also came in. He looked around and found nothing out of the ordinary, which meant that Clipchamp did not enter the cave. Roar! The marshal of the barbarian race bellowed as he leapt out of the cave. At the same time, he gave an order: Blood Soul, 100 Poisons, split up and search. If you spot anyone, immediately sound the alarm. Why wouldn't they meet for no reason? The 100 Poisons Taoist and the Blood Soul Taoist were also puzzled. The two looked at each other in the cave. Hearing the barbarian tribe marshal gradually disappear into the distance, the 100 Poisons Taoist spoke first. "Blood Soul, I think we still have to join forces. That brat's martial arts are strange." The Black Demon Bat and Yin Scholar were killed without any rhyme or reason. The intelligence said that Tian Fu was killed by the Dog Emperor's 19th son. None of the Dog Emperor's sons are good people. The 3rd Prince Gufan Shah even wanted to recruit us, but he couldn't give us what we wanted. Now that the barbarians are at war with the Imperial Court, we have to be careful. I know everything you said. The leader of the Blood Soul cult laughed sinisterly. The barbarian tribe isn't anything good either. But this time, the evil god was pressured too much. He actually sent down an oracle to share the benefits with us. We sacrificed to him and gained a lot of benefits. That's why we were able to kill those lowly people and ascend to the 2nd transformation state. I think the Imperial Court is pressuring us so much that the evil god will give and even more. Hence, if we want to quickly raise our cultivation level, we can only follow the barbarian tribe. Then how about following the Great Way dynasty? The 100 Poisons Taoist was about to walk out of the cave. Prince Gu has brought an imperial edict to confer us the title of Earl. That's just an expedient measure. We are the evil path. No orthodox imperial court will tolerate us. We are born to break the laws. Hence, there's no possibility of us working together with the orthodox imperial court. The leader of the Blood Soul cult sounded disdainful. Let's find a time to kill him and then sacrifice him to the evil god. The evil god likes this kind of orthodox imperial court. Their bodies are tainted with the emperor's chi and the emperor's chi. After sacrificing them, it will be greatly beneficial to the evil god's power. We are weak individually. Let's work together and work together sincerely in the future. Don't be suspicious of each other. The 100 Poisons Taoist quickly try to rope them in. Of course, the Black Demon Bat and Yin Yang Scholar, those two idiots, attacked each other and were killed. The leader of the Blood Soul cult nodded. The two of them worked together and were about to get out of the cave. But at this moment, a buzzing sound came from behind them. The air in the entire cave was trembling slightly. They quickly turned back and saw the sun and moon appear in the cave at the same time. The explosion shook the cave, and all they could see was sword chi. The destructive will made them feel like they couldn't move. The sword chi came swiftly and violently. It swept away all the evil in the world and killed the evildoers. It restored the world to its original clarity, enforcing justice on behalf of heaven and bringing order out of chaos. Sun and moon kill. The Emperor's God-sealing, art's destructive killing move. Before the leader of the Blood Soul cult and the 100 Poisons Taoist could react, their heads were separated from their bodies. Gu Qinsha was bleeding all over. His meridians were broken. He was heavily injured again because of the sun and moon kill. These two are powerful. If they weren't unprepared and had their backs to me, I wouldn't have been able to kill them even if I used the sun and moon kill in a head-on fight. Gu Qinsha put all the corpses into the altar space and jumped in. He didn't care about healing his injuries first. Anyway, the barbarian race marshal wouldn't be satisfied until he killed him. He would wander around the mountain for a long time. He had used the sun-moon slaughter twice, both times when he was caught off guard. He had jumped out of the altar space. This kind of sneak attack was the most effective. If he had used the sun-moon slaughter in a head-on confrontation, the enemy would have been on guard, and he might not have been able to kill him so quickly. When he entered the cave, he entered the altar space directly. He saw that the barbarian race marshal had left, leaving only the leader of the Blood Soul cult and the 100 Poisons Taoist to discuss. Then, he left and quickly seized the opportunity to deliver a fatal blow. The leader of the Blood Soul cult and the 100 Poisons Taoist never dreamed that someone would come out of the originally empty cave. The altar space. There were many blood balls floating in the air. They were the souls and blood essences of the barbarian race's martial Tao masters. The two largest blood balls were the 100 Poisons Taoist and the leader of the Blood Soul cult. However, Gu Qinsha couldn't care less. He immediately drank the heavenly dew and smeared it on his wounds. At the same time, he activated the sun and moon mental cultivation technique to quickly refine the medicine. He recovered much faster than the last time. In less than an hour, his broken meridians, cracked skin, and twisted bones had recovered. His body seemed to be stronger than before. This was the improvement of his martial arts. The sun and moon refinement techniques, sun and moon refinement techniques, sun and moon refinement technique had strengthened his body. However, without the help of the heavenly dew, he wouldn't have been able to cultivate so quickly. Seeing that his injuries had recovered, he lit up the grass and sacrificed the souls of the barbarian race soldiers and the leader of the Blood Soul cult and the 100 Poisons Taoist to the heavenly axiom. Immediately, the heavenly dew floated above the altar. He put them all into the gourd. He estimated that he had more than 500 drops of heavenly dew, including the ones left from the last time. If he sold them, even the aristocratic families wouldn't be as rich as him. Blood-melting blade, shatter! Next, he grabbed the blood-melting blade and sacrificed it again. At the moment of shattering, he threw the prototype of the demon-conquering blade out. Bang! The huge blood-melting blade turned into the demon-conquering blade and fused with the original prototype, forming a new demon-conquering blade. The new demon-conquering blade was prismatic and sharp on 3 sides. It was 3 feet long and had natural runes on it. It had terrifying cutting power just by looking at it. Good. This demon-conquering blade is much sharper, but I'm afraid it still can't break through the defense of the barbarian marshal. With the barbarian marshal's martial arts, I'll definitely lose even if I launch a sneak attack. Only by advancing to the Dao realm will I have a chance of assassinating him. Grabbing the demon-conquering blade, he began to search the 100 Poisons Taoist and the leader of the Blood Soul cult for valuables. As expected, an imperial edict. 2 imperial edicts were found. They were both earls conferred by the Great Wei dynasty. The majestic emperor's qi on them was extremely dense. Gu Chansha carefully examined them and found that the emperor's qi was comparable to the great Yanko's imperial edict. He was secretly shocked and knew that the Great Wei dynasty's national fortune was probably not inferior to the great Yanko's. From the great Yanko to the heavenly talisman era, it could be said that the national fortune was the strongest in history. Before that, many countries had split up and many emperors had attacked each other. 10 years ago, the great Yanko had destroyed 100 countries and unified them. The national fortune was at its peak, like a blazing sun. Just how great was the Great Wei dynasty to be able to contend with the great Yanko? By the heavens, your subject, Gu Chansha, offers the emperor's qi. Gu Chansha did not hesitate to offer the imperial edict. Immediately, the altar space changed. A hazy sun and moon vaguely appeared in the sky. At the same time, a strange thought entered the depths of his mind. The heaven-offering talisman absorbs the emperor's qi and can transform into the sun and moon altar, the heaven and earth altar, the living being altar, so that's how it is. Gu Chansha thought carefully and digested the information. He finally understood what the future form of the heavenly sacrificial decree would take. As long as it absorbed enough emperor's qi, the decree's first transformation would be the sun-moon sacrificial altar. Once the sun-moon sacrificial altar was truly formed, there would be many benefits. For example, a projection of the sun and moon would appear in the sky above the sacrificial altar. The essence of the sun and moon would shake and cleanse the body if one cultivated in the projection. It would be many times better than cultivating outside. Apart from that, there were many other benefits. Looking at the blurry sun and moon above the sacrificial altar, Gu Chansha knew that the heavenly sacrificial decree had not truly transformed into the sun-moon sacrificial altar. It still needed more emperor's qi. After familiarizing himself with the changes of the sacrificial altar, he looked at the wealth of the Blood Soul Hierarch and the 100 Poisons Taoist. He did not know what the Blood Shadow Whip was, but it was definitely a powerful weapon. He put it aside for now. Apart from that, the Blood Soul Hierarch also had a Blood Shadow demonic scripture. It recorded many evil techniques, and even a way to communicate with the Blood God. There are also some medicinal pills that looked very valuable. Oh, they're actually money notes. He finally found a stack of money notes from the Blood Soul Hierarch. Each note was worth 100,000. There were 28 of them, which was a huge sum of 2,800,000. Chapter 54. As a prince, every small move he made would bring in mountains of gold and silver. Even the most thrifty prince would spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. If he wanted to enjoy luxury, to nurture talents and death warriors, to form alliances, then it would be a bottomless pit. $1 million would be spent, not to mention building formations and buying treasures. He searched for 100 poison priests and realized that he only had poison scriptures and some poisons. Apart from that, there was nothing else. He probably stored his belongings somewhere else and didn't bring them with him. After packing everything up, Gu Chansha didn't bother about all this. He exited the space and dashed towards the main road once more. The barbarian general and the barbarian soldiers had disappeared. On the main road, horse hooves could be seen. They didn't advance, but retreated. The barbarian soldiers actually retreated. Gu Chansha was delighted. It seems like the barbarian general couldn't find me and couldn't find the Blood Soul sect leader and 100 poison priest, so he panicked. He probably knew that the 2 of them were dead and was probably ambushed by experts. 2 Dao realm, transformation realm demons disappeared just like that. No matter how strong the barbarian general was, his heart was pounding. It was natural for him to retreat. Since the danger in the town was solved, Gu Qinsha naturally had to head back to take a look. When he returned to the town, there was actually a battle here. The ground was covered in blood, and there were corpses everywhere. There were barbarian soldiers and evil sect members. 19th Master, you are back? Lu Yu and the others were covered in blood and were covered in wounds. However, they were still in good spirits and flew over. The moment you left, barbarian soldiers and evil sect members attacked. Luckily, there weren't many of them, and we forced them to retreat. It seems like there are many barbarian soldiers roaming about. The town isn't safe either. Gu Qinsha looked around. On the main road, I saw thousands of barbarian cavalry. I killed a few hundred and lured them away, but they probably won't be able to hold them back for long. Pack up and escort your people to Xian City. Here are 200,000 coins, enough for you to settle down in Xian City. Once the war is over, you can return. Thank you, 19th Master, for your kindness. The 5 of them were so touched that they almost cried. Even if the tens of thousands of people in the town went to Xiandu, they would have no relatives or friends. Most of them left in a hurry and didn't bring any money with them. Even food was a problem. Now that they had 200,000, they could at least alleviate a lot of their problems. At that moment, the 5 of them knelt down. 19th Master has saved our town. From now on, no matter what happens, we swear to repay you with our lives. Get up. This is all doing good deeds and accumulating virtue. There will definitely be good fortune. Gu Qinsha gestured for the 5 of them to stand up. The 5 of you have had a fortuitous encounter. I intend to nurture you into the pillars of the country. Do not make a mistake. Yes, how many young men are there in the town who can fight? 243. Jiao Yang reported. They're all very strong, and they usually like to practice martial arts and hunt. They have some skills, and in a one-on-one fight, they might not be weaker than ordinary soldiers. All right, gather them together and train them into soldiers. Strip off the armor and weapons of the barbarians and equip them yourselves. Gu Qinsha said, from now on, they will be disciplined according to military law. Yes, the 5 of them quickly went to work. Gu Qinsha returned to the courtyard and took out some of the blood-strengthening pills he obtained from the treasure vault of the barbarian tribe temple. He was going to use them as military rations. This blood-strengthening pill was a precious pill that only the disciples of the barbarians could obtain. 1 pill was enough to last them for 3 days. There were strong young men here, and it was a big problem for them to eat every day. But with the blood-strengthening pill, everything could be easily solved. Another point was that he lacked real helpers in his mansion, and he didn't dare to recklessly recruit them. Otherwise, there would be countless spies sneaking in. Now that there were more than 200 people here with clean backgrounds, why not nurture them and bring them back in the future? The capital of Xian Dynasty. It was the capital of the entire Xian Dynasty in the past, and it was also the largest city at the border. Lu Baiwei and the 3rd Prince were both here, giving out orders and paying close attention to the movements in Banan Province. How's the situation with the 19th Prince recently? Lu Baiwei listened to the intelligence from her subordinates. Her cultivation had become more profound recently. It seemed that after consuming the Calamity Golden Pill, she had experienced the vicissitudes of thousands of lives. No one could see through her cultivation. With every passing day, she became more powerful. Princess, the 19th Prince has saved the town. Tens of thousands of townspeople have been moved to the vicinity of Xian. He has also selected some strong men from the townspeople to increase their training. It seems that he wants to resist the evil cult and barbarians at the front line. It was still Yu Xiang who reported. As for Inspector Banan, he is rushing to ask for help from the 3rd Prince to ensure that the provincial capital is not lost. The 3rd Prince has already sent a few experts there, and it seems that he is also making a move. The 3rd Prince only has a few tricks up his sleeves. Lu Baiwei tapped her finger on the table. But the 19th Prince has already started to train his own confidants. We really can't underestimate him. He can train them by pulling up able-bodied men at the last minute. This is child's play. Yu Xiang expressed her opinion. No, he has the Tiger Wolf pill. Even a weakling would become a Tiger Wolf warrior after consuming it. Lu Baiwei frowned. I just don't understand. Where did he get this pill? I want to get more of it from him to train my Liu family's disciples. Last time, the princess issued an order for the 19th prince and Imperial Inspector Ba, Nand, to annihilate the cult within a month. Now that the month is approaching, the cult's annihilation is still a long way off. Are we going to punish them? I originally set the deadline to force the remnants of Xian due to show themselves. I didn't expect the 19th prince to not collude with them. He is really meticulous in his work. Moreover, he has already killed the Black Demon Bat and Yin Yang Scholar. He has already made contributions. Liu Baiwe pondered, if I go too far, the imperial court might criticize me. But I want to see what his trump card is. I still have to force him. Princess, just when Liu Baiwe was about to make a move, Miao Xiang hurriedly came in and said, 19th Prince has killed 2 more old devils, the Blood Soul Cult Master and the 100 Poison Spiritual Master. Their corpses have been specially sent to the palace by Inspector General Bonan. Other than that, he has beheaded 400 barbarian cavalrymen and 300 to 400 evil cult followers. What? Liu Baiwe slammed the table and stood up. The Black Demon Bat, Yin Yang Scholar, the Blood Soul Cult Leader, and the 100 Poison Spiritual Master were all killed by him. With such contributions, I'm afraid I have no reason to force him. From a certain point of view, he has already destroyed the evil cult. Moreover, he is stuck to the front line to train his troops. No mistakes can be found in any situation. There is really no other way. Yes, he has a good reputation now. He has saved tens of thousands of people in a town. Now those people are spreading his good deeds everywhere. They have already praised him as if he has given birth to tens of thousands of Buddhas. It can be seen that he is very good at operating. Miao Xiang reminded Liu Baiwe that she should be vigilant. I knew he was not an ordinary person, but I still underestimated him. Once he left the capital city, he returned to the sea like a dragon returning to the sea. He has done incredible things one after another. You see, he is very methodical in his actions. He has won the hearts of the people, assassinated the devils, and trained his troops. These things have been done by the emperor many years ago. Liu Baiwe looked into the distance, as if she was thinking about something very important. The few maids did not dare to disturb her. After a long time, she said, "What about Old 10th? He brought so many troops and was so aggressive. Did he not achieve anything at all? His Highness 10th went to T County and fought with the barbarians a few times. He beheaded 400 to 500 people and lost 53 soldiers." Miao Xiang took out an intelligence report. This is a copy of the memorial written by His Highness 10th himself. Old 10th is really useless. He only beheaded so few people and suffered so many losses. He actually wants to ask for a reward. Liu Baiwe almost laughed. Write down a summary of Gu Chinch's military achievements and send it over with a messenger eagle. I want to see where Old 10th will put his face. There was a county called Hui County that was 100 miles away from T County. At this time, the county was empty and there were bloodstains everywhere. It was obvious that a great battle had taken place. On the city walls, there were warriors wearing full body armor. They were dark and heavy and emitted the aura of a giant beast. Each warrior was fierce, as if they could tear tigers and leopards apart at any time. The 10th prince, Gujinsha, was sitting in a yamen in the city. The yamen had been destroyed. The magistrate and all kinds of small officials had been taken away by the evil sect to be sacrificed. The entire county had been bathed in blood. When he came, it was an empty city. But now, he had stationed troops here to defeat the barbarians and the evil sect. The imperial court's armor and fire talisman spears have not been obtained. What did Old 7th say? Must he stop me? Gujinsha asked the family guard next to him. The imperial court said that they do not have that much armor and fire talisman spears. However, the Heavenly Craftsman Institute is working hard. Also, the merit of beheading the barbarians has been reported. The family guard said respectfully, the army under Liu Baiwe is all using fire talisman spears. I don't believe that the Heavenly Craftsman Institute does not have any in stock. Gujinsha snorted. Father is in seclusion and Old 7th is supervising the country. He does not dare to offend Liu Baiwe, but he dares to offend me. Of course, you are a prince. You have the right to fight with him for the throne. A voice came from behind. It was the mysterious Mr. Foam. No matter what, Lu Baiwe is just a woman. Although she is favored, she is not a threat to His Highness. It is natural for him to suppress you in order to win her over. Mr. Foam, I did not expect the barbarian army to be so strong. There is even a barbarian marshal in the temple in T County. If it was not for you protecting me secretly, I would not have survived. Gujinsha was secretly shocked. That is all I can do. You will have to walk the rest of the path yourself. Otherwise, you will never be favored by the witchcraft. Since you have entered the Tao state, I will not stay for long. I have to train another successor. Mr. Feng's words were straightforward. However, the ancient witchcraft was a survival of the fittest. Gujinsha's eyelids twitched when he heard this. His murderous intent was released, but he suppressed it. If that is the case, when will you leave, Mr. Foam? I am not in a hurry. I will leave when it is time to leave. Mr. Foam suddenly retreated and hid in the darkness. He no longer existed. This time, I have killed hundreds of barbarian soldiers. It is a meritorious service. If the imperial court does not reward me, it will not be right. You must send me the fire talisman spear. Gujinsha stood up and stomped his feet. The ground cracked, revealing his anger. At this moment, a falcon flew down from the sky and landed in the hands of a family guard. The family guard took down a letter and handed it to him. After he took it, he looked at it. His face was purple with anger. Damn it, Gujinsha, I want you to die a horrible death. Chapter 55. Gujinsha roared on the flat ground in the town, training the soldiers. There were 243 people there, including Lu Yu's group of 5, which made a total of 248 people. Every day, they trained with all their might to defend against the barbarians and evil sect members who came to invade from time to time. After a few days, Lu Yu's group of 5 had successfully stepped into the martial arts grandmaster realm after consuming the heavenly dew and under Gujinsha's guidance. They activated their swords, which were filled with killing intent and had an ancient aura. The 5 of them were martial arts masters and had reached the acme of perfection. The sword in one's palm was an ancient weapon that could communicate with one's chi and blood. The person nurtured the sword, and the sword nurtured the person. As one's martial arts improved, their chi and blood became purer, and it was not unusual for them to become one with the sword. The potential of the 5 swords was so great that even the Dragon Bone sword couldn't compare. The Dragon Bone sword was a divine weapon that had been forged for thousands of years, but the 5 swords were truly from the ancient times. They were born during the 5 Seasons era. Because of the long passage of time, the spiritual chi within them had dissipated, which was why they became ordinary and couldn't display their true power. However, Gujinsha had a feeling that the 5 swords seemed to be the embodiment of some kind of rule. The 5 of them were treasures, and he was lucky to have picked them up. Clang! As he gave the order, the remaining 243 people drew their swords at the same time. Their killing intent soared into the sky, and there was a vague sense of military might. The people of Xian province loved martial arts, and all the young people in the villages knew a few moves. This was because this place was close to the barbarians at the border. Before the Great Stone Wall was built, the barbarians would often invade this place. If one didn't know martial arts, it would be difficult to survive. This was also the reason why the entire Xian province believed in the Great Spirit God. Everyone hoped to be strong enough to kill the barbarians and keep themselves safe. The 243 young people had a good foundation. Coupled with the blood-strengthening pill they took every day, their bodies were getting stronger and stronger. Gujinsha had taught them the Great Spirit God technique, and they also believed in the Great Spirit God. Cultivating this technique would bring out the best in each other. Kill! 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 The 243 youths roared at the same time and struck out with their sabers. The saber light flashed like a shadow, and the roars were thunderous. Suddenly, there was the feeling of sand and stones flying. They displayed the giant spirit saber technique. The moves were simple and unadorned, but they were extremely powerful in actual combat. Gu Qinsha nodded as he watched. These days, he had trained his troops very effectively. These youths could be compared to the elites. These young people could be compared to elites. Spring 4, Spring 11, Summer 9, Summer 15, 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 Summer 16, Summer 16, Summer 16, Summer 16, Summer 16, Winter 16, Summer 16, Winter 16, Winter 16, Summer 16, Winter 16, Winter 16, Summer 16, Winter 16, stepped. Spring 4, Spring 11, Summer 9, Summer 15, Flame 5, Flame 6, Autumn 7, Autumn 20, Winter 8, Winter 13, step forward. Gu Qinsha shouted, and shouted. After he shouted, of the time, Chi. 10 young men leaped in front of him and stood perfectly straight. Their energy and spirit were like blades, showing off their abilities. Gradually, they developed the murderous aura of soldiers. They had killed barbarians, been on the battlefield, and received the influence of experience. Immediately, they were no longer the young men of the town. Gu was. Where Gu Sha had were. These youths are divided into 5 groups, led by Lu Yu and the other 4. Lu Yu's group of 5 practiced the 5 seasons sword technique, which were respectively spring, summer, flame, autumn, and winter. Spring was rain, summer was thunder, flame was fire, autumn was frost, and winter was snow. Using the 5 seasons as a code name, it was clear. The 10 of you have been fighting valiantly recently. You've beheaded the most enemies, and your cultivation bases have improved. You've been working hard. Now, I will reward you with 10 medicinal pills. Use them. Gu Qinsha took out 10 medicinal pills. Thank you, 19th Lord. The 10 of them took the pills, knelt down on one knee, and swallowed them without the slightest hesitation. They didn't even ask what it was. From this, it could be seen that they already knew how to obey orders to the death. This was a necessity of military law, a necessity of training soldiers. After the 10 people consumed it, a beast-like aura erupted from their bodies. Their muscles bulged, and the energy in their bodies intertwined with each other. They were 10 times braver than before. Other than that, their spiritual temperament was clearly different. They were truly like ferocious tigers and jackals, fierce and sharp. They had taken the tiger-wolf pill. These days, Gu Qinsha had taken the time to hunt in the surrounding forests and behead the tiger-wolf priests. He had refined 10 medicinal pills, just enough to train 10 outstanding youths. If it wasn't for the fact that there weren't many tigers and wolves in the nearby forests, he would definitely have refined more than 200 medicinal pills for everyone to consume. That way, they could truly form a fighting force that wouldn't lose to those death-sworn soldiers that the aristocratic families had trained for decades. However, treasures like the tiger-wolf pill could only be awarded to those who had made contributions and were loyal. He couldn't give out all of them. What medicinal pill is this? Lu Yu and the other 4 widened their eyes in disbelief. They felt that after those soldiers who weren't even martial warriors consumed it, their physical bodies had become martial arts masters. It was just that their cultivation bases were slightly weaker, but their spiritual temperament had changed. They had the majesty of a tiger and the tenacity of a wolf. You've all become martial arts masters. This pill is useless to you. This pill is a foundational pill. Gu Qinsha explained. After the 10 people's aura had calmed down, he said, you still need to train hard and completely refine the medicinal effects in your bodies. Yes. The 10 people looked at the changes in their bodies and were filled with joy. At the same time, they developed a kind of omnipotent medicinal pill for Gu Qinsha. A single medicinal pill could allow them to greatly increase their strength. They would be reborn, and even their souls would evolve. This kind of method was no different from that of a god. Gu Qinsha looked at these people and nodded to himself. After so many days of hard work, he had finally cultivated a team. In the future, when he returned to the capital city, He would be able to show off his skills here. Woo woo woo. At this moment, the desolate bugle horn sounded again. Could it be that the barbarian soldiers are here again? Guchinch's body darted to the top of the wall. He looked into the distance and realized that the barbarian cavalry had appeared again in front of him. Smoke and dust billowed as they charged towards him. He was shocked, but when he looked again, he saw that it was a group of barbarian cavalry. There were about 1,000 of them, and he calmed down. He could kill 1,000 of them easily. Prepare for battle. Guchincha made a hand gesture. Suddenly, all the youths raised their sabers, bent their backs, and held their breath. Their spirits were raised, and they moved silently. They didn't seem like soldiers, but more like assassins. The barbarian cavalry arrived outside the town, but did not attack. Instead, they asked, "May I ask if the 19th Highness is here?" "HM?" Guchincha looked over and shouted, "If you are not barbarian soldiers, then who are you?" "The 19th Highness." The leader of the barbarian soldiers immediately dismounted and knelt down. "We are the subordinates of the Marquis of Dashi. We disguised ourselves as barbarians in order to spy for information. We heard that the 19th Highness was once again guarding the main road, so we came here to meet up. This is my token. Toss the token over." Guchincha didn't dare to completely believe it. The barbarian soldier tossed the token over. It was exquisitely crafted with a Bayan beast head on it and a name engraved on it. "First-class tiger, General Shurtai. You are from the Marquis of Dashi's main family?" Guchincha asked. "Reporting to the 19th Master. According to seniority, I am the Marquis's nephew," Shurtai answered. "I heard that the Marquis of Dashi has a set of fist techniques circulating in the army called the Spirit Stone Fist. I wonder if you know it?" Guchincha still didn't believe it. Shurtai thought to himself, "This 19th Master is really meticulous. Who said he was a fool?" As he thought this, he pressed his hands on the ground. Rumble! The ground gave off a muffled sound, and cracks spread out with him as the center. This move is called the mischievous stone nod. Shurtai cowed out. "Please enlighten me, 19th Master." "It is indeed the Spirit Stone Fist. Heavy, steady, and unchanging. No matter how the wind and rain exploit it. You must have practiced this for at least 20 years. You must have practiced it since you were young. It seems like it is not a fake. Enter the town. Let's talk together." Guchincha asked someone to open the door. After the troop of 1,000 people entered, the Tiger General Shurtai realized that each and every one of Guchincha's subordinates were strong, especially Lu Yu and the other 4. They were all martial masters. I heard that this 19th Master is poor, so he chose the commoners of this town to train his soldiers in order to resist the barbarian army. But are these soldiers really commoners? How can there be as many as 5 martial masters? He was greatly shocked, but he didn't express it. Instead, he said, "The Marquis has already received the Imperial Court's bulletin. He knows that 19th Master has killed the Black Demon Bat, Yin Yang Scholar, the 100 Poisons Taoist, and the Bloody Soul Cult's leader. He is very impressed with 19th Master's bravery. In order to help 19th Master reach a higher level and achieve great achievements, he specially ordered me to serve and obey 19th Master's orders. At the same time, I have brought 300 sets of armor for 19th Master's soldiers." He gestured, and the soldiers behind him immediately took out a large bundle from their horses. When they opened the bundle, a set of light and thin armor appeared. The armor was pitch black, and it was densely covered with sharp scales. It looked like the skin of a python, but it could be seen that it was made of a special material that was hand-forged. "19th Master, please let your soldiers try it out," Shurtai said. "Yin-Wan, you go." Guchincha gestured. "Yes." Yin-Wan took a big step forward and was about to put on the armor. "This isn't how you wear the armor. Drip your blood on it first." Shurtai hurriedly stopped him. "There are seals on the inside of the armor." As expected, there were seals on the inside of the armor. Yin-Wan dripped his blood on it, and the armor seemed to come to life. It turned into something like a snake and crawled on his body. In an instant, it wrapped around him from head to toe. Not even the slightest gap could be seen. Even his eyes were covered with a thin layer of red. So magical. Gu Qinsha and many of his subordinates were dumbfounded. "Try punching," Shirtai said again. Yuan took a big step forward and punched. Bang! The air clearly shook, and deep footprints appeared on the ground. Then, he leaped and landed on the roof easily. This was something he couldn't have done before he put on the armor. Shirtai grabbed the barbarian tribe's saber. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. 3 consecutive saber strikes landed on Yin One's body. However, Yin One didn't move at all. There wasn't even a scratch on the armor. Instead, the saber broke into 2. Damn! Lu Yu and the others widened their eyes. This is still armor? Are you sure it isn't a celestial treasure? This is the Horn Dragon armor? Gu Qinsha's heart stirred. 19th Master is wise. That's right. This armor is the highest secret of the Celestial Designer Institute. However, the Celestial Designer Institute has recently overcome a technical difficulty. As long as we have the materials, this armor can be mass-produced. Shirtai suddenly said, "In the future, our great Yong army will definitely be invincible." Chapter 56. 30% Flood Dragon Power, so strong. Gu Qinsha calculated. Actually, the strength of 9 bulls and 2 tigers at the second transformation of Dao Realm was the strength of 1 flood dragon. This meant that when a person reached the second transformation, they would become a flood dragon. Everyone could become a dragon, and the Son of Heaven was a true dragon. To become a dragon, one had to become a flood dragon first. 20% flood dragon power was the same as 2 bulls. How am I worthy for Jusher Marquis to give me 300 sets of this armor? Gu Qinsha thought about it. This gift was too heavy, and he didn't dare to accept it. However, he didn't want to reject it. Is it because of Third Brother? The Third Prince's presence in Xian Province is a huge obstacle to Marquis Jusher's plans at the border. Now that I've appeared out of nowhere and killed the 4 great demons, and I'm also a prince, Marquis Jusher has decided to let me restrain the Third Prince? If that is the case, then it makes sense. Since that is the case, then I will take one to try. Gu Qinsha took out an armor. Shirtai stopped him. 19th Master, your armor isn't the Horned Flood Dragon armor. While speaking, he took out a bag from the back of his horse. After opening it, there was a set of blue armor. It was obviously better than the Horned Flood Dragon armor. This is the Horned Dragon armor. Gu Qinsha said anxiously. Right, this armor is really rare and far exceeds the Horned Flood Dragon armor. Only when you wear it will you know how amazing it is. Shirtai said, with this armor, it will be much less dangerous for you to lead troops on the battlefield. Although that is the case, my goal here is to pursue the martial path. If I wear this armor, it will be bad for my cultivation. Gu Qinsha frowned. A few days ago, Gu Qinsha had single-handedly killed thousands of barbarian cavalrymen. Arrows, sabers, and spears had shot at him randomly. In the end, he had forced out his potential and comprehended the exquisite changes of force in the sun and moon change. If he had been wearing armor at that time, he would not have made such progress. But how could he refuse this armor? Since that is the case, then wear your armor and prepare to fight. Shirtai suggested, the barbarian race is really aggressive, so we might have to fight them. That's right. The border is blocked by the Great Stone Wall. How did the barbarian soldiers manage to enter and establish a stronghold here? Gu Qinsha had been wondering about this for a long time. Those barbarians didn't come from the Great Wall. Shirtai's tone was solemn. This is related to the evil god. It seems that he has used the power of a sacrifice to open the door to the crack in the void. Every day, many experts of the barbarian race can reach the temple from the barbarian race's base camp. There's actually such a thing. Gu Qinsha knew that it would not be easy for the barbarians to invade. First, they would have to travel tens of thousands of miles to reach the Great Wall. In order to cross the Great Wall, they would have to break through the many forts at the border. Only then could he reach the flourishing Xian province. But now, he could directly come from the hinterland of the wilderness. It would save him a lot of time and effort. The key was that as long as they entered a bustling area with a large population and enough people to offer sacrifices, the strength of the evil god and the barbarian soldiers could be strengthened. This was equivalent to rolling a snowball. If they attacked from the border, there would be no people to offer sacrifices. Attacking the Great Wall would result in countless casualties. It was impossible to break it. Even for the evil god, it was extremely difficult to open the crack in the void. It would consume a lot of power. But if the barbarians could gain a foothold, they could kill the people as sacrifices every day. Not only could they replenish the consumed power, but they could also gain a lot of surplus. Also, there's a divine envoy of the barbarian tribe in Peach County with an extremely high cultivation base. Even if he came alone, he would still kill us all. Clipchamp knew that Marquis Dashi was exceptionally well informed, so he had to clarify everything first. The barbarian oracles must guard the temple to prevent the crack from collapsing, so they won't come out to plunder. Also, the more powerful the character, the more dangerous it is to pass through the crack in the void. Shirtai revealed all the information. The 19th Master has actually made a great contribution these days. He has saved tens of thousands of people. If these people are captured and offered as sacrifices, the barbarians can at least send over 100,000 soldiers and horses, or even more experts. Right now, we are guarding the main roads and preventing the barbarians from spreading and capturing more people. This will consume more of the evil god's power. These days, Marquis, Third Prince, and even Princess Uefu have been biding their time. In fact, they are waiting for the barbarian army to increase in numbers. Then, they will be able to catch turtles in a jar. Of course, the 19th Master has killed the 4 old demons, weakened the barbarian army, and greatly shaken their morale. This cooperation is even more seamless. What does Marquis Jusher suggest? Clipchamp grasped the main point and asked. He knew that Marquis Jusher would definitely have something for him to do since he had given him the armor. Marquis hopes that the 19th Master can subdue the remaining experts of the Xian dynasty and find out where Wen Hong is hiding. Marquis already knows that this person is hiding and has reached a crucial stage in cultivating the myriad star flying immortal art. If he succeeds, he will become one of the most terrifying enemies of Great Yong. Now is the best time to eliminate him. Sure, Tai-Dai finally revealed Marquis Jusher's intention. Right now, there are remnants of the Xian dynasty's royal family. The crown prince, Chun Tianwang, is leading the rebellion. He is extremely powerful, and he has also colluded with many experts from the hidden immortal Dao sects in the eastern wilderness. He is extremely powerful. In addition, the people of Xian province are nostalgic and have a deep-rooted faith in the great spirit god. If Chun Tianhuang makes a comeback, with the Grand Preceptor Wen Hong behind him, there will immediately be chaos. The eastern wilderness? Are there really immortals? Clipchamp was somewhat surprised. The eastern wilderness was outside the great Yonko-S territory. Hundreds of thousands of miles away, in the extremely far east, there was no one living there. All that was left were endless mountains that soared into the sky. Ferocious beasts reappeared there, and the land was vast and boundless. However, since ancient times, there were legends that there were immortals hidden in the eastern wilderness. Historical records recorded that many people went to the eastern wilderness in search of immortal fate. 99% of them were eaten by ferocious beasts. According to the legends, there were only a few who really obtained immortal fate, but no one knew whether it was true or not. Although the wilderness was also overrun with ferocious beasts, it was still inhabited by barbarians, and there were even evil gods secretly presiding over it. In contrast, the eastern wilderness was nothing but illusory legends. However, according to the royal family's records, the great Yonko had destroyed many countries and sects among the common people. Some sects were rumored to be the orthodoxy passed down by the immortals of the eastern wilderness. There have been legends of immortals in the eastern wilderness since ancient times, and they're definitely not false. However, the distance is too great, and they're deeply hidden. The imperial court has no time to care about them. However, since they have begun to interfere in the secular world, that is the beginning of their downfall. Sure, Tai-Tai sneered. especially when I receive news that Chun Tianwang wants to destroy the Great Stone Wall and let the barbarians march in. Destroy the Great Stone Wall. How audacious. Gu Qinsha was also slightly angered. After the Great Stone Wall was built, it was able to defend against the barbarian cavalry, allowing the common people to rest and recuperate. Even if the Heavenly Talisman Emperor had committed many crimes in the past, this merit was more than enough to offset them. Not to mention the construction of a north-south canal and the elimination of floods and droughts. In that case, I naturally have to find people like Qin Tianwang. As long as you get the Myriad Star Flying Celestial Talisman from Chun Tianwang and give it to Lord Marquis, Lord Marquis can cast a spell to find traces of that Wenhong and report it to His Majesty. His Majesty will then subdue Wenhong, and at that time, Lord 19 will definitely have made a great contribution. Even if you don't do anything, the Life and Death 9 Revolutions Immortal Pill will definitely be bestowed to you. Sure Tai Tai revealed Marquis Jusher's intention. Lord Marquis will also do his best to show off Lord 19's merits. I don't care about the merits, and I don't care about the rewards. Using immortal pills to obtain power is not the right way. It is better to work hard to break through to the next level. I came here to save the people and train my martial path at the same time. Gu Qinsha already knew Marquis Jusher's intention to rope him in. Everything in the world nourishes people. The Tao realm absorbs spirit qi to absorb nutrients from heaven and earth. It is the same for using immortal pills. Humans rely on heaven and earth to increase their realm, and immortal pills are also a part of heaven and earth. You must not create obstacles or obsessions. Sure Tai Tai hurriedly said, "This is Lord Marquis's advice to Lord 19. He told me that if Lord 19 doesn't use the armor, you will definitely enter the obsession barrier of martial learning. You will abandon external things too much and believe in yourself." I'll learn a lot. Gu Qinsha was enlightened. Thank you, Marquis Jusher, for your advice. He dripped his blood on the talisman inside the hornless dragon armor, and the armor instantly came to life. In less than a breath's time, it wrapped him tightly from head to toe without a single gap. He was not afraid of being burned by smoke, drowned by water, and not afraid of knives and spears. Even poison was isolated. Most importantly, his breathing was very smooth. He didn't know how it was forged. When he exerted some strength, he realized that the strength of the armor itself was actually not lower than his own. When he punched, the armor also sensed his movement, and great strength was produced on it, coordinating with his punch. This armor is really amazing. Gu Qinsha tried it out. However, you must first familiarize yourself with how to control it. The strength of the armor itself is not in harmony with the strength of the person. If you don't train it, it will be harmful when you use martial arts. Yes, this is also the disadvantage of the armor. Sure, Tai Tai was also in agreement. Martial arts doesn't mean that the stronger the better. Strength that cannot be controlled and external forces will cause your moves to be incomplete. From then on, the flaws will be grasped and broken. For example, after these soldiers put on the hornless dragon armor, they need to continuously train, cooperate, and familiarize themselves with the power of the armor itself. However, as time passed, they will get used to it. Once they take off the armor, they will not be able to adapt, and it will be harmful to their own martial arts cultivation. Of course, if they can comprehend the realm of not being restricted by things and being able to move freely, it will be fine. They can have things or not. Clearly, Lord 19 has already comprehended this realm. But how many of his soldiers can comprehend it? That's true, but it's simple for now. We can mass-produce this armor and fully equip them. Even if ordinary people are on board, the infantry will be able to completely defeat the barbarian cavalry. Gu Qinsha familiarized himself with the power of the hornless dragon armor itself and suddenly thought of a question. Since this armor has its own power, does that mean that in the future we don't need people to control it and can directly create killing machines? Chapter 57. There was an incantation within the hornless dragon armor. After dripping a drop of blood on it, The armor would resonate with the owner's aura, and it would recognize the owner. The owner would then chant the incantation, and the armor would automatically shrink. This was already in the category of magical treasures, not something of the mortal world. It possessed its own spirituality, similar to the Dragonbone sword. The Dragonbone sword can break the defense of the horned WIRM armor, but it can't break the horned WIRM armor. Gu Chansha calculated, according to the classification of dragons, the lowest level is the Flood Dragon, followed by the Chi Dragon, the Great Dragon, the King Dragon, the Divine Dragon, the True Dragon, the Sun and Moon Dragon, the Heaven and Earth Dragon, and the Dragon of all beings. Since the hornless dragon armor has been created, the Great Dragon armor must have been created as well. I wonder what's so special about it. At this moment, the 243 men under Gu Chencha's command, including Lu Yu's group of 5, had also put on the horned dragon armor. It was as if they were wrapped in a layer of dragon skin, light and agile. It did not affect their movements at all. They demonstrated their martial arts to familiarize themselves with the power of the armor and combined it with their own martial arts in an attempt to kill more barbarian soldiers in the upcoming battle. At the very least, with this armor, it would be difficult for ordinary soldiers to die, and the number of casualties would be greatly reduced. 19th Master, these 5 subordinates of yours have amazing martial arts. Tai could tell that Lu Yu and the other 4's cultivation levels were not to be underestimated. They were not beneath him. I wonder if General Shi would like to compete with my subordinate. Gu Qinsha saw through his intentions. This person was also a martial arts grandmaster, a member of the Jusher Marquis and a trusted aide. Otherwise, he would not have been allowed to contact him and deliver such an important armor. Gu Qinsha wanted to see this person's true ability, and at the same time, he could see Jusher Marquis' ability in cultivating talents. That's fine. Shi Zhongtie's face was filled with joy. He thought, the 19th Prince is indeed a clever person. He can see through my intentions. Lu Yu, you compete with General Shi. Don't overdo it, Gu Qinsha instructed. Yes. Lu Yu immediately took off his horned dragon armor and raised his sword to the same level as the tip of his nose. He focused his mind and calmed his chi. His soul and sword became one, and he forgot about everything else. Good. Shi Tai loudly praised. A knife appeared in his hand as he stood up. Please, please. Lu Yu was very calm. His body moved, and the sword radiance was perfectly straight. The starlight formed a line and suddenly rushed over. It was subtle and silent, like the hidden spring rain that nourished all living things. Shi Tai held his saber horizontally in front of him. He was as heavy as a boulder, simple and unadorned. His entire body exerted strength as he slashed out with his saber as the center. Within 3 steps of him, the air currents emitted the sound of shattering crystals. Gu Qinsha was slightly startled. This person's martial arts are very high, definitely not an ordinary grandmaster. He is not below Lao Shi from that day. Before 10th Prince Gu Qinsha reached Dao Realm, he was a dual cultivator. He was strong and agile, and was said to be invincible among grandmasters. Who knew how many resources were used to develop him? For sure, Tai to have such a cultivation. Marquis Dashi was truly terrifying, because this person was not his son, but a nephew of the main family. If he was a direct descendant, he would probably be even stronger. Dang, dang, dang. In the blink of an eye, the 2 of them had already exchanged dozens of moves. Suddenly, Shi Tai let out a long howl, and his saber technique changed. Fiery light flashed, cutting through the air, and a tempest spread out. At this moment, everyone seemed to see meteorites falling from the sky, a meteor shower. Pung! Lu Yu was sent flying and fell to the ground, but he used his sword to bounce back, and he jumped up again. He was not injured, and he knew that Shi Tai was being lenient. Let me. Zhao Yang held his sword and attacked Shi Tai. After the 2 of them exchanged dozens of moves, Shi Tai used that saber technique again, and Zhao Yang was also sent flying. Then, Mo Chao, Qian Zhen, and Zhou Bu took turns to attack, but they were all sent flying after dozens of moves. Shurtaidi's move of falling meteorites was exquisite, and it was extremely powerful. Its aura was even more majestic. This move is exquisite. Was it created by Marquis Dashi? Guqinsha was interested. Shurtaitai, use this move to attack me with all your strength. Don't hold back. This 19th master, the power of this move is shocking. It was indeed created by Marquis Dashi when he saw the falling meteorites and the meteor shower. I only used 30% of it just now. If I go all out, I'm afraid. Shurtaitai was in a difficult position. I think this move has some flaws. Guqinsha smiled. 19th master, you must be joking. Although he knew that Guqinsha was trying to provoke him, Shurtaitai still had some complaints. If you don't believe me, use your full strength, and I'll show you. Guqinsha did not have a weapon in his hand. I can use my fists and legs to break this move of yours. If that's the case, then 19th master will have to offend you. Shurtaitai stood with his saber, and his body trembled slightly. The air around him trembled along with his body, and a tornado appeared. Such power made the expressions of Lu Yu and the others change drastically, and they knew that they had not lost unjustly. Rumble. The saber's aura rose, and the saber light disappeared. It rose and fell, and everyone seemed to see the stars falling from the distant starry sky, landing on the earth. The earth was instantly filled with thousands of holes, and the world had turned into ruins. The saber attacked Guqinsha. Guqinsha moved and rushed into the saber light. With a light wave of his hand, all the saber lights were struck down, and Shurtaidi's long saber fell into his hand. What's going on? Shurtaitai looked at his empty hands, and he could not understand how Guqinsha had snatched his saber. He looked respectful, but he was actually very arrogant and strong. He had killed countless enemies, and his talent was 1 in a million. Otherwise, he would not have gotten the favor of Jushur Marquis. He did not expect that there would always be someone stronger than him. If Guqinsha was in the Dao realm, he could understand. However, Guqinsha was in the same realm as him, and he was also a martial path grandmaster. Lu Yu and the others felt relieved, and they instantly felt that Guqinsha's image was even greater and indelible. 19th Master's martial arts are unparalleled, and I admire you. Shurtaitai came back to his senses, and he hurriedly knelt down on one knee. This came from the bottom of his heart. I thought that he didn't kill the 4 demons by himself, but now it seems that it is really possible. The martial arts just now. However, he is good at winning people over. I defeated 5 of his subordinates, and he defeated me with 1 move. This way, his 5 subordinates will definitely respect him as a celestial being. Guqinsha's move was the sun and moon transformation technique, and it was many times better than Shurtaidi's. Naturally, he snatched the saber in an instant, and this was also a show of strength. After snatching the saber, he was delighted. Compared to when he was in the capital, the improvement in his martial arts cultivation was too obvious, especially after he comprehended the intricacies of the sun and moon transformation. He broke through the barrier of martial arts, and he felt that he could step into the Dao realm at any time. At night, the stars shone brightly, and the night wind blew, bringing with it the fragrance of spring. Guqinsha let Shurtaitai lead the team to rest in the town and exchange pointers with Lu Yu and the others. Guqinsha, on the other hand, went out and walked towards the depths of the mountain. Firstly, he wanted to find tiger wolf pills and obtain more tiger wolf pills. Secondly, since he had promised Marquis Dashi to contact the remnants of Xian Chao, the latter would definitely come looking for him. He left the town and traveled over 100 miles, climbing up a tall mountain, and observed his surroundings. With his current leg strength, it took him less than an hour to travel 100 miles, and this was just walking slowly. If he gave it his all, it would be twice as fast. You've been thinking for so many days. Have you made up your mind? He sat on a big rock at the peak of the mountain for a while, and a voice came from afar. He turned his head to look, and it was indeed Chun Jianfeng. At this moment, Chun Jianfeng was alone, and he did not bring any followers. Gu Qinsha was not surprised. He already knew that when he was training in the town, there were people watching him. It was not difficult for him to get rid of them, but he wanted to see what these people wanted. Think about what? Rebellion? Gu Qinsha's tone was very cold. What if I don't agree? Oh, have you grown up? Do you feel that you are invincible because you have a few people under you, and your martial arts have improved a little? Chun Jianfeng seemed to have expected Gu Qinsha to say this. It seems that there's a need to let you know how powerful I am. I will capture you today, and when you see the Crown Prince of Heaven Wasteland, you will be obedient and willingly offer up your bloodline. So you want my bloodline of the Great Spirit God? Gu Qinsha laughed involuntarily. You really have guts. Xian Shao was destroyed by the Yonko, and it is understandable that you want to take revenge, but you want to destroy the Great Stone Wall and let the brute race invade. That is close to evil. Throughout the ages, the winner is the king, and the loser is the villain. A general success is built on the bones of tens of thousands. You are still very naive. Chun Jianfeng clasped his hands behind his back. Your performance these days has surprised me. Even the 4 great old demons died in your hands. But that should be the credit of Long Yuyan, right? She seems to be using you. I have already heard that she has returned to the capital and is not here. What trump card do you have now? You dare to capture me? Gu Qinsha stood up. You have the bloodline of the Great Spirit God. I will give you a chance. You can run now, and I will not chase you for the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Let's see if you can escape from the palm of my hand. Chun Jianfeng could not be bothered to answer and said to himself. Gu Qinsha suddenly took a step forward, advancing 30 feet, and was already in front of Chun Jianfeng, striking out 3 consecutive palm strikes. The palm techniques of the Great Spirit God: move mountain, overturn river, and overturn ocean. These 3 palms were connected, and the energy waves rumbled, forming into a ball. The air currents rubbed against one another, giving off a crackling sound. Dust and other small objects on the ground seemed to have been electrocuted, and they were all sucked up. This was because he attacked too quickly, and his strength spiraled. The high-speed friction created a huge static electricity. This technique had already exceeded the strength of the Great Spirit God's palm because he used Sun-Moon transformation to activate it. Chun Jianfeng originally had a smile on his face, but soon after, his expression changed because he felt that the palm energy covered the sky and covered the earth. The power was so great that it was rarely seen in his life. The wind from the palm was condensed but not released, condensed but not dispersed. It was like a mountain surrounded by lightning as it smashed towards him. He was familiar with the Great Spirit God's palm, and he had trained hard since young. He could pretty much close his eyes and dissect the moves. But facing this palm technique that he couldn't be more familiar with, he felt so strange that he almost wanted to vomit blood. His body retreated, and he didn't dare to take it head on. Even if he was someone who had changed his Tao realm, he could only flee. Chapter 58. Gu Qinsha retracted his palm and did not give chase. Although Chun Jianfeng had bad intentions, he was not a barbarian who killed commoners as a sacrifice. He was also of the Xian dynasty's royal bloodline and was related to his mother. Capturing him was fine, but there was no need to kill him. As long as he was not an evil person, Gu Qinsha would not kill him. How about it? You also learned the Great Spirit God technique. Shall we spar? Gu Qinsha smiled. But if you want to run, I will not let you run for the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. That way, I will not be able to capture you. What technique is that? It is definitely not the Great Spirit God's palm. Chun Jianfeng stared at him. He stood on another rock and was still in shock. He felt that Gu Qinsha had not used his full strength. Those 3 palm strikes were enough to kill him. Could it be that you really killed the Black Demon Bat, Yin Yang scholar, 100 Poison Taoist, and the Blood Soul cult leader? Your Tao realm was not comprehended by yourself. It was assisted by some kind of power. It is not stable, and your soul has not truly connected with spiritual energy. It is hard to circulate it, and it is intermittent. If you advance to the Tao realm on your own, then the spiritual energy in your body will be filled with spiritual energy. Essence blood will be born slowly, and every pore will be filled with fresh energy. You're still far from that. Gu Chunsha gradually comprehended the mysteries of the Tao realm. If one relied on external methods, such as sacrifices or pills, to advance to the Tao realm, the spiritual energy would be intermittent, like a clogged pipe. Chun Jianfeng was in such a situation. Yes, you can do it. Chun Jianfeng took a deep breath. I underestimated you. I did not expect your cultivation to be so strong. But you might not be able to defeat me. Law-breaking celestial sword, come out. Clang. Behind him, a sword actually flew out by itself and floated beside him. It was short and delicate, shaped like a silver fish. There were runes on it, and it was actually stronger than the Dragon Bone sword. Although Dragon Sword Island had accumulated a lot, it was not as strong as the Xian dynasty. Even the great Yonko court could only wipe it out in the end. The Xian dynasty had 6 celestial swords. The first was the lawless celestial sword. The second was the ending celestial sword. The third was the law-breaking celestial sword. The fourth was the law-breaking celestial sword. The fifth was the law-breaking celestial sword. And the sixth was the law-breaking celestial sword. The lawless celestial sword, celestial sword, and the ending celestial sword were in the hands with Gu Qinsha. Dynasty, celestial dynasty. The celestial sword was the law celestial sword, but could not. Celestial sword breaking, celestial. Magic breaking immortal sword go. Chun Jianfeng chanted loudly. Chun for 4. The silver fish-like sword twisted and flashed, turning into a silver light. It spun up and down and actually shot towards Gu Qinsha. Its speed was extremely fast, and it actually created a sonic boom. The slicing power was definitely not something that a Martial Path Grandmaster or a Tao Realm Transformation 1 or Transformation 2 expert could compare to. Chun. Only Copper Skin and Iron Bones could stop this sword. The blade of exorcism had already appeared in his hand. Gu Qinsha did not dare to be careless. He had already unleashed the profundities of the transformation of sun and moon. Similarly, he brandished his sword and blocked the spell-destroying immortal sword. Dang! When the two swords collided, Gu Qinsha only felt that the force transmitted from the spell-breaking divine sword was as strong as several giant elephants, more than 9 bulls and 2 tigers. It almost sent his demon-subduing blade flying. If it wasn't for the unpredictable changes of the sun and moon technique, which was good at dispersing force, this blow would have killed him. You're actually using martial arts to deal with the Law Celestial Sword. This sword has Law Celestial Sword breaking power, and I have only used 30% of it. Kneel down, and I will spare your life. Chun Jianfeng stood far away and did not attack. He just looked at the silver fish-like Law Celestial Sword dancing around and forcing Gu Qinsha back. His eyes were dark and sunken as he chanted once more. The Law Celestial Sword's speed increased once more. It sped up and down and actually left an afterimage. The silver sword light was like threads, forming a dense sword net that wanted to slice Gu Qinsha into pieces. Under such a situation, it was tough for Gu Qinsha to break through the sword light lockdown, much less get close to him. This Law Celestial Sword is the weakest out of the 5 swords, but it is still so strong. I think that Chun Jianfeng can't use the full power of the Celestial Sword. Otherwise, I would be in trouble. Gu Qinsha exerted the transformation of sun and moon with all his might. He borrowed the force from all directions and unloaded it, but the attacks of the Celestial Sword were rapid, fast, and powerful. Every time they struck, he felt numb all over. They were even more powerful than the 4 old demons combined. The power contained within the sword was limitless. Kacha! The demon descending blade in his hand actually cracked. The Law Celestial Sword was too sharp, and the demon descending blade was just in its embryonic form. It hadn't been forged into a true blade. Once your weapon is shattered, let's see how you block. Chun Jianfeng laughed out loud. Hornless dragon. Gu Qinsha's expression was calm as he shouted. In an instant, a light blue armor appeared on his body. It was actually the hornless dragon armor. This armor protected his entire body, and at the same time, his strength increased greatly. Bang! With a punch, he actually forcefully stopped the attack of the Lost Celestial Sword. Hornless dragon armor. Chun Jianfeng's expression changed, and then he showed some savagery. You think this armor can block it? Since that's the case, I'm going to break this armor and kill you even if I have to use this sword for a year and consume all the spiritual energy stored in it. He formed hand seals with both hands, and the changes were complicated. Grab! Gu Qinsha was even calmer. He suddenly used all his strength, working with the hornless dragon armor. His hands turned into layers of shadows, and he actually grabbed the Law Celestial Sword. Idiot, you actually used your hands to grab it. Chun Jianfeng was secretly delighted. However, the moment Gu Qinsha grabbed the Law Celestial Sword, he used some unknown technique and threw it into the void. The Law Celestial Sword actually disappeared without a trace. What's going on? Chun Jianfeng was stunned that he could not sense the sword. This sword is so powerful. Gu Qinsha was a little shocked. In the instant he took the risk to grab the Law Celestial Sword, he felt like he had grabbed a dragon that could lift him into the sky at any moment or even tear the hornless dragon armor to pieces. He could not hold it at all. Therefore, in that instant, he made the best choice and threw the sword into the spatial altar. That was an independent space, and only he could enter it. The things inside could only come out with his permission. He sensed the space of the altar and found that the Law Celestial Sword flew inside. Just as it was about to fly around, it suddenly saw the light of the sun and moon on the altar and immediately let out a cry. It was like a subject seeing an emperor, and it slowly landed on the altar, subdued by the might. Where's my sword? Chun Jianfeng was almost going crazy. What did you do? Where did it go? Gu Qinsha did not answer him, and with a leap, appeared in front of him. Chun Jianfeng hurriedly raised his arm, preparing to block, but he felt his body tighten. His acupoints had been sealed, and he went limp. His true ability was far from Gu Qinsha's, and adding on the fact that he had lost the Law Celestial Sword, his mind was in turmoil, and he was directly captured. After an unknown period of time, he woke up and found that he was in the courtyard of the town. Gu Qinsha was sitting on a chair, and he was thrown on the ground. He casually moved his body and found that his acupoints were not sealed, and he was not tied up. He could escape at any time, but he immediately knew that the reason why Gu Qinsha did not seal his acupoints or tie him up was because he had absolute confidence that he could not escape. What method did you use to take the Law Celestial Sword? But even if you use a method to temporarily suppress the sword, it will be useless. As long as the sword appears, any expert of our Chun family will take it away. Chun Jianfeng's tone was threatening. Gu Qinsha, don't make a mistake. The Grand Preceptor will come out of seclusion soon. If he wants to kill you, he can attack you from thousands of miles away. He has already cultivated to the seamless two-world transformation. What? 27 transformations. Seamless two-world transformation? Using the physical body to jump in an instant and break through the void. Gu Qinsha was also very familiar with the 36 transformations. It was all recorded in ancient books. Among them, the 27 transformations of the Tao state was called seamless two-world transformation, which meant instant movement. For example, from the capital city to Xianzhou, as long as one tour opened the void, entered it, found the coordinates, and jumped violently, one could reach the destination in the blink of an eye. This realm was already divine, and it was unimaginable. He knew that the Grand Preceptor Wen Hong's cultivation was strong, but he did not expect it to be to such a level. It seemed that only the gods in the ancient epics could have such a method. In his eyes, the 6 transformations of the Tao state and refining qi into gang were already divine techniques that could not be resisted. How about it? You decide whether or not you want to fight against us. Chun Jianfeng seemed to be grasping at straws. As long as you obediently hand over the Law Celestial Sword, then come with me to see the Crown Prince of Heaven Wasteland and give him the activated bloodline of the Great Spirit God, and let him communicate with the Great Spirit God. We will write off this matter and you will not die because of this. We have a good way to save your life. Is that so? The 27 transformations of the Tao state, the endless two worlds, is indeed the method of a god. I cannot imagine it. But do you know what realm the emperor has cultivated to? The emperor that Gu Qinsha spoke of was the Heaven Talisman Emperor. What realm? Chun Jianfeng knew that this was a secret. Everyone knew that the Heaven Talisman Emperor was comparable to the ancient emperors, but they did not know what realm it was. His embodiment transformation. Gu Qinsha said a transformation. Impossible, impossible. The last transformation of the 36 transformations, embodiment transformation. Chun Jianfeng seemed to be frightened, muttering, embodiment transformation can change everything in the world, and all kinds of space-time can move freely. The 36 transformations of a Tao state was called embodiment transformation, and it was a realm that even most gods could not reach. Of course, after the 36 transformations, there were some more mysterious realms that were not recorded in the history books, because at that time, it could no longer be described with words. Gu Qinsha guessed that the Heaven Talisman Emperor had really reached such a realm. Otherwise, he would not be able to suppress the evil gods of the brute race to such a state. In the history books, it was recorded that as long as one could open up a cave and create a stable space in a void, one could be considered a god. As for embodiment transformation, that was to be able to change everything in the cave and draw upon the energy of heaven and earth to give birth to people, objects, and all living beings. However, this realm could not produce its own energy and had to draw upon the energy of heaven and earth, so it was called embodiment transformation. It was to borrow the power of him to create all kinds of freedom. He was the heaven and earth, the heavenly Tao. Chapter 59. Dream on. Chun Jianfeng sneered. Even if you imprison me now, the Chen family has many experts and will come to rescue me. You've also made powerful enemies out of nowhere. You're actually making enemies everywhere. That Gufan Sha, Liu Baiwe, Gujin Sha, and even the imperial court. Which one of them isn't your enemy? That's fine. Even if you don't tell me, I can find a way to subdue this sword. Gu Qinsha observed the Dharma Breaker immortal sword on the Sun-Moon altar and found that it was very obedient. It lay on the altar and moved occasionally as if it was very comfortable and satisfied. He immediately searched through the books he had read to see if there were any records of Emperor Gu offering sacrifices to collect treasures. According to logic, offering sacrifices to the heavens was omnipotent. Such a small matter could be easily done as long as one grasped the method of offering sacrifices. But after thinking for a long time, he really couldn't find anything. It seemed like he had to read more when he returned. This sword was refined by Grand Preceptor Wenhong and infused with his primordial spirit. With a thought, this sword can fly back. Chun Jianfeng was disdainful. Unless your power surpasses the Grand Preceptor, it's impossible to take it. I remember that the spell breaker sword is in the hands of Old Seven. Gu Qinsha want to find out more secrets. He's from a school of legalism, and these 6 swords were refined with great effort by an ancient prodigy in the school of legalism. That's why they're called lawlessness, dharma ending, dharma breaking, dharma breaking, dharma breaking. After obtaining this sword, he returned to the school of legalism and used a secret method to suppress it for research. His power improved greatly, but the Grand Preceptor will find the school of legalism to take it back sooner or later. The 6 swords are one. Chun Jianfeng revealed the secret as his eyes rolled slightly. No one knew what he was thinking. Don't even think about running. Gu Qinsha crossed his fingers. In that case, I'll hand you over to the imperial court. You're a rebel after all. My merit in capturing you is greater than killing the old devil. Hearing this, Chun Jianfeng finally revealed a fearful expression. Gu Qinsha changed the topic. But I've received the emperor's decree to recruit the remnants of the Xian dynasty. As long as the Xian dynasty royalty can make up for their mistakes, they can join me. How about this? You help me fight against the barbarians. As long as you can kill 3,000 barbarian soldiers, I'll release you. How about it? Chen Jianfeng snorted coldly. He sat on the ground, closed his eyes, and ignored him. He didn't run away, nor did he agree. Anyway, this town will soon be attacked by barbarians. If you don't kill the barbarians, they will kill you as a sacrifice. Gu Qinsha didn't care about him. He stood up and walked outside. Should I run or not? Chen Jianfeng was caught between a rock and a hard place. If I can't escape, I'll probably anger this person. At that time, he'll hand me over to the imperial court. Most importantly, this person was actually able to collect the magic breaker immortal sword. He has more trump cards than I had imagined. Should I hide here and figure out his trump cards before making a decision? Outside the courtyard, Shirtai was still diligently practicing his saber art. He was deeply stimulated, so he worked hard to improve. The saber light wrapped around his body and danced up and down, sometimes advancing and sometimes retreating, sometimes to the left and sometimes to the right. It was as if he was drawing an ink painting of mountains and rivers. One could vaguely see layers upon layers of towering mountains pressing down on him from within the saber light. Suddenly, he roared and the saber light pierced into the sky. It was as if a mountain had risen from the ground, connecting with heaven and earth and becoming a heavenly pillar. I still can't break through. After a long while, he sheathed his saber and stood quietly, sighing. The realm of Tao is extremely difficult. I'm also stuck here and can't improve. Gu Qinsha had learned many things from Shirtai. Shirtai had been fighting for many years and was very experienced. He had cultivated for many years and persevered. He had many strengths that Gu Qinsha didn't have. I stepped into the martial ancestor realm 10 years ago and fought so hard. I really can't break through this barrier. Shirtai bowed and sheathed his saber. There was a look of melancholy on his face. The Marquis told me that I need to accumulate for this barrier. The longer I accumulate, the further I will go in the future. I can't be rash, but 10 years is really hard. I've only entered the martial ancestor for less than a year. Gu Qinsha thought to himself, if I can't break through in 10 years, will I be discouraged? Maybe I can form a good relationship with this Shirtai. He took out a small bottle. Catch. This is? Shirtai took it and opened the bottle. He found that there were a few drops of dew inside. It was very fragrant. Just smelling it made his meridians feel relaxed. His chi and blood felt cool and warm. He was almost intoxicated by it. This is heavenly dew. You know about heavenly dew? Gu Qinsha was a little surprised. The emperor gave it to the Marquis. I've seen it and smelled it. I didn't expect the 19th master to have it too. How can I accept such a reward? Shirtai knelt down on one knee, not daring to accept it. The Marquis gave me 300 sets of horned dragon armor. Its value is immeasurable. I don't have anything to return the favor. Moreover, your cultivation is at a critical juncture. If you can improve further, it will be of great benefit to killing the barbarians. Also, you are familiar with battle training. My subordinates need you to train them and turn them into elites. Gu Qinsha frowned. These days, I've been feeling uneasy. I keep feeling that the barbarians are plotting something. It seems like I have to investigate the temple. I captured Chen Jianfeng yesterday, but I didn't want to kill him. He didn't want to surrender either. Do you have any suggestions? Chen Jianfeng's position in the Xian dynasty royal family is not bad. He is a core member. Shirtai kept the heavenly dew. His impression of him was much better. If you hand him to me, I have many ways to force him to tell the truth. Extorting a confession through torture might not be the best choice. Gu Qinsha shook his head and said, to be honest, the Xian dynasty's royal family and I are related by blood. After all, they're my mother's people. My father wanted me to recruit them and use their prestige among the people of the Xian dynasty to resolve the blood feud that year. Then we can only release Chen Jianfeng and follow him. After he leaves, he will definitely contact the other Xian dynasty royal family members. We will be able to obtain more information. Shirtai frowned, but he is a Tao realm expert. It will be difficult to follow him. Even if we follow him, we will be in danger if we meet other Xian dynasty experts. Good idea. Gu Qinsha nodded. Since that is the case, I will follow him personally. 19th Master, you mustn't. Shirtai stopped him. You are a prince, and if anything happens to you, I won't be able to bear the responsibility. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Gu Chunsha patted his shoulder. I am afraid that after I leave, the barbarians will attack. 19th Master, you don't have to worry about this. We all have rich battle experience. Shirtai saw that Gu Chunsha had made up his mind and knew that it was useless to persuade him. These days, he was also secretly astonished. Gu Chunsha had actually given his subordinates blood-strengthening pills to train his troops. Only the most elite troops under Marquis Dashi had such treatment. It was rumored that this prince was poor, but now he was so generous. Where did his wealth come from? Gu Chunsha turned around and returned to the hall. As expected, Chun Jianfeng didn't leave. He adjusted his breathing, and spiritual energy gathered around his body. It was a pity that his comprehension wasn't deep enough, and the spiritual energy was intermittent. If this continued, he might fall back to the martial path Grandmaster realm. One's cultivation could fall back. For example, eating qi and fasting was to sense spiritual energy with one's heart and then absorb it into one's body through breathing, merging it into one's meridians and blood. However, if one suffered a huge blow or doubted one's martial path, one's heart would be covered in dust. One would be unable to sense spiritual energy and fall back to martial path Grandmaster. If one cultivated it on their own and went through all sorts of trials, it wouldn't be easy to fall back. However, if one used medicinal pills or sacrifices, the chances of falling back were high. Chun Jianfeng had suffered a huge blow. He lost the spell breaker, Celestial Sword, and was captured. He was flustered, and the spiritual energy he absorbed during cultivation was weak. There was a risk of falling back. You can leave. I have decided to let you go. Gu Chunsha pointed outside. Really? Chun Jianfeng opened his eyes. You don't want to play hard to get? You want to follow me and get my secrets? Then are you leaving or not? Gu Chunsha couldn't be bothered to explain. Chun Jianfeng immediately leaped out of the courtyard. He jumped onto the top of the wall and disappeared. Gu Chunsha's body shook and he flew in another direction. He wasn't afraid of following Chun Jianfeng because he had already caught his scent. He used sun and moon transformation and focused his mind on his nose. His sense of smell was even more sensitive than a hunting dog's. Sun and moon transformation had many acupoints, meridians, and spiritual acupoints in the body. There were also cultivation methods for the nerves. For example, there were a few secret holes on the nose. If one focused his qi, blood, and mind to stimulate them, one could unleash the potential of a normal person's sense of smell. In the forest far away, Chun Jianfeng panted heavily. He stared at the town he had just escaped from, and a vicious expression appeared on his face. Gu Chunsha, you actually stole my spell breaker, Celestial Sword. I am not done with you. However, I still haven't figured out his trump card. This is a troublesome matter. He let me go so easily, so he definitely wants to follow me. Since that is the case, I will beat him at his own game and lure him into danger. After resting for a while, he flew in the forest again. At the same time, he paid attention to his surroundings. However, after running for 4 hours, he got further and further away. He realized that there were no signs of anyone following him. Could it be that he really isn't following me? No, I can't think that way. He definitely isn't that kind. However, I have at least run for hundreds of miles. It is relatively safe. It is time to contact him. He took out a jade talisman from his pocket and suddenly crushed it. After crushing the jade talisman, he sat on the ground to rest and wait. Only when the sky brightened did a black dot suddenly appear high up in the sky. It flew down like an arrow. Only when it reached the top of the mountain did he realize that it was a giant rock. Its feathers were black gold, and its body was huge. When it spread its wings, it could even grab an elephant, let alone a cow. Golden-winged great rock. In the distance, Gu Chunsha was hiding and frowned when he saw this bird. Chapter 60. Especially if it was trained by an expert who knew how to raise it and fed it with elixirs and medicines every day, The bird could be reborn, learn to cultivate, and turn into a demon. It would be more powerful than human martial arts experts. In this endless mainland, other than the nefarious demons, there were also the demon race that ran rampant. That was because other than the settlements of the human race, most of the places were just barren mountains. In the vast mountains, there were countless animals that had cultivated themselves into spirits before turning into demons. Compared to human cultivation, it was hard to get started. However, once one got started, their cultivation would improve quickly. That was because demons were born with low intelligence, which was why it was hard to get started. However, demons were pure and didn't have as many desires and thoughts as humans. They hadn't experienced love and hate, so they only knew how to cultivate. Naturally, they were much faster than humans. However, it was impossible for animals to comprehend cultivation on their own. If they wanted to become demons, they had to be enlightened by human cultivators or find ancient ruins. History books recorded that many cultivators would find strong beasts and nurture them. Then, they would enlighten them and cultivate, turning them into powerful helpers. The rock in front of them was obviously a demon. It was really strong and could take in and spit out spiritual energy. For animals to become demons meant that they knew how to cultivate. If they stepped into the Tao realm and could take in and spit out spiritual energy, they would become demons. When demons cultivated to a certain level, they could become dragons. Dragons weren't a race, but a realm. Becoming a demon, a flood dragon, a hornless dragon, a great dragon, a king dragon, a god dragon, and a true dragon. Auntie, you actually came personally? Chun Jianfeng looked at the girl on a rock and was delighted. I am really unlucky this time. Ani, help me get the magic-breaking celestial sword back. The girl jumped down and stood steadily. The bird stood on the cliff and looked down on the mountains. It looked like a flood dragon. The girl took out a pill to feed the bird. She turned around and saw that she was dressed in a green silk robe. Her face was like a painting, and she didn't look like a mortal. She gave off the aura of a celestial being. Tell me about it. The girl spoke. Her voice was ethereal like it came from the 9 heavens. You have the magic-breaking celestial sword and are invincible at the 2nd transformation. Even those at the 3rd transformation can't hurt you. If you face danger, you can grab the sword and fly away. How did someone take it away? I don't know. Did that Gu Chansha use some technique to take it and suppress it? Chun Jianfeng explained everything in detail. Nonsense. Even if someone at the 6th transformation refined energy into energy and evolved Xiantian energy, he wouldn't be able to suppress it. The woman was slightly angry. The Spellbreaker Celestial Sword is no small matter. That day, I gave it to you because you were illuminated by the divine light and broke through to the Tao realm. I wanted you to contact the tycoons in Xian province and plan to restore a country. Now that you haven't accomplished anything, you actually lost this celestial sword. The Grand Tutor is about to come out, and when he does, he will take back the magic-breaking celestial sword. At that time, the 6 swords will merge into one and use the power of the Great Spirit God to form the One Heart Path formation. At that time, there will be hope for the country. But I heard Gu Qinsha say that Tianfu has reached the incarnation realm. If that is the case, do we still have hope? Even the Great Spirit God doesn't have such a realm. Chun Jianfeng's tone was a little dejected. Shut up, the woman shouted. The heavenly talisman is the enemy of all the gods and devils in the sky. No matter how high his realm is, he will still fall. If you lose your confidence like this, there's already a possibility that your cultivation will regress. It's a waste of the divine light that day. Do you know how much effort the Grand Preceptor has put into obtaining that divine light? Auntie, but that Gu Chansha. Chun Jianfeng thought about it. The most important thing is for you to get the sword back. Otherwise, it will be hard for me to explain to the Crown Prince. Of course, I'm telling the truth. I also want to meet my sister's son. The girl walked lightly. Rumor has it that he is an idiot. In less than a year, he suddenly rose and killed the 4 old demons. Who knows what kind of fortuitous encounter he had? Or has he been hiding his strength? Or is there a peerless expert behind him? Or is it really, as the rumor says, that he activated the bloodline of the Great Spirit God and received the blessing of the Great Spirit God? But the Great Spirit God lost his connection more than 10 years ago. He is currently in a town hundreds of miles away. Any can go there and capture him. I want to capture him and hand him over to the Crown Prince so that he can use his blood to activate the bloodline of the Great Spirit God. That way, there will be a chance for the entire royal family to activate their bloodline. Chun Jianfeng explained his thoughts, indicating that he had contributed to the royal family. Idiot! The girl scolded. You're so overbearing. Aren't you making enemies? We should entice him with benefits and draw him to our side. If I had known, I wouldn't have sent an idiot like you. I know what you're thinking. You want to reap the benefits for yourself first. Then what do we do now? Chun Jianfeng didn't dare to argue. He's already hostile towards us. It's impossible for us to express our goodwill. Also, he won't spit out the law-destroying immortal sword. Since that's the case, we can only use the Faithless Heart-Seizing Talisman. The girl frowned. What? The Faithless Heart-Seizing Talisman. This talisman was left behind from ancient times. Even our royal family only has one. Unless we cultivate to the 8th transformation, the true Samadhi fire, we'll be able to dispel the talisman's power. Otherwise, we'll be controlled by the talisman user. We'll be loyal and never be able to betray him again. Chun Jianfeng was greatly shaken. Isn't it too wasteful to use the only talisman to control the ancient dust sand? This time, we are here to control Prince Gu. If we succeed, we can infiltrate the Great Wei dynasty and obtain endless resources. Right now, only the Great Wei dynasty can stand against Great Yong. Do you think I don't want to control Prince Gu? This person is strong and has reached the 5th transformation of Dao Realm. His 100 orifices are at the Spirit Gathering Realm, and he can break through to energy refining at any moment. How difficult is it to place the talisman on him and control his body? Moreover, Gu Qinsha isn't worthless. At least we can see the secrets of the Great Spirit God from him. The girl looked around and observed the terrain. But if Gu Qinsha listens to us, what if that dog emperor finds out about the talisman? Actually, it won't be of much value. Chun Jianfeng rubbed his hands. I still want to take revenge on him. If he becomes one of us, then don't I have to help him? Think of the big picture. You're actually thinking about personal grievances. All right, cut the crap. I'm going to set up the Heartless Seizing Talisman here to resonate with heaven and earth. Only by stimulating its vitality can I succeed in one go. You brought Gu Qinsha here. If you can't even do this, then you're truly useless. The woman waved her hand. This faithless mind-capturing talisman is too old, and a lot of its power has been lost. Instilling ordinary spiritual energy into it won't have much effect, and instead, it will destroy its structure. If I could drip heavenly dew into it, why would I need to go through all this trouble? I just need to drip blood on it and hit Gu Qinsha. Prince Gu won't be able to escape my control. Yes, yes, yes. Seeing that the girl was furious and lost her patience, Chun Jianfeng left right away. How useless. The girl shook her head and took out a jade talisman. The jade talisman was azure in color and gave off a weak glow. There were ancient bird runes on it, and a desolate aura spread out. One didn't need to look at it to know that it was an ancient item. She placed the jade talisman on a rock on the cliff and used bird language to let the golden-winged rock fly far away. She gathered many giant trees from the forest and built something like an altar here. She, on the other hand, was observing the terrain around her. She took out a long sword and shaved off the surrounding rocks. Then, she took out huge rocks and carved patterns of talismans on them. She arranged them according to the strict feng shui formation in an attempt to trigger some kind of mysterious power here. As her formation was gradually perfected, the jade talisman seemed to be absorbing something and became brighter. At this moment, someone suddenly dashed out from the forest in the distance. He was as fast as lightning and was covered in light blue armor. He dashed to the rock in the center and grabbed the jade talisman. With a shake, the jade talisman disappeared. Then he dashed into the distance without looking back. Damn it, The girl had never thought that something like this would happen. She exerted all her strength and moved like a stream of light. Whoosh! She created a series of afterimages as she ran and reached the person who stole the talisman in almost 10 breaths. Without looking, she pushed out 3 palms. The great spirit god's palms moved mountains, overturned rivers, and overturned seas. Whoosh! A violent whirlwind suddenly rose up, and tornadoes appeared all around. Wind pillars collided with each other, creating creaking sounds. Within 20 steps, the airflow was pulling on each other, creating a series of explosive sounds. Rocks and stones were all swept up into the air, creating sparks when they collided with each other. This was not the power a human could unleash. It was like a demon in a novel that sent sand and stones flying. Bam, bam, bam. Clipchamp also used the 3 moves of the great spirit god's palms. As soon as they came into contact, he felt that the opponent's power could topple mountains and overturn seas. He could not take it head-on at all. He forced himself to use the sun and moon transformation technique, but there was still a lot of power that he could not negate. His whole body was sent flying and slammed into the rock. If not for the protection of the hornless dragon armor, this attack alone would have broken all the meridians in his body and broken bones everywhere. It was he who had secretly followed Chun Jianfeng and saw him discussing with the girl. Thus, he took the opportunity to steal the faithless mind-capturing talisman. This talisman was used to control him, so he definitely couldn't allow such a dangerous thing to be activated. If his mind was controlled, it would be really dangerous. With his cultivation, he shouldn't have been able to steal the talisman. But because of the sun and moon alter space, he could hide at any time, and even people at Rel Transformation 5 or 6 wouldn't be able to notice him. This girl's martial arts are so high. Even with the hornless dragon armor, I am no match for her. Clipchamp climbed up. The rock behind him had been smashed, and his body was perfectly fine. Even if it was a hidden attack, the hornless dragon armor could block it. Her strength seeped in layer by layer, but when the hornless dragon armor faced the hidden attack, a large portion of it was dissipated. This was not something that iron armor could compare to. Iron armor couldn't take a single hit from an expert. Hidden attacks could cause the surface to be unscathed, while the person inside was badly mutilated. This girl's martial arts were even more terrifying than the barbarian race 9-star generals. This meant that she was at Dao Realm Transformation 4, able to swallow gold and turn into stone. The barbarian race 9-star general was at Dao Realm Transformation 3 and had copper skin and iron bones. Even without the hornless dragon armor, Clipchamp was able to fight. But even with the hornless dragon armor, he still couldn't beat her. Chapter 61. The woman didn't kill Clipchamp in one strike. Seeing the armor, she stopped and didn't attack again. She seemed to have seen who was inside. You must be Clipchamp. You actually followed me here, and Chun Jianfeng didn't notice. What a waste. Seems like my sister gave birth to a good son. Not only did he survive, he even grew up. You my aunt, Yun? Clipchamp was ready for battle. I've seen the records of the Xian dynasty's royal family. You and my mother are blood sisters. Why do you want to harm me? Using the heart-seizing talisman to control me? You heard everything. Yun was a little surprised. Seems like you do have something special about you. You can suppress the law-breaking immortal sword and get close to me without being discovered. It's better to squash enmity than keep it alive. After all, we are blood-related. Chun Jianfeng was overbearing and wanted to capture me to extract my bloodline. Now you want to control me? Are we really irreconcilable? Clipchamp's voice turned sharp. The hatred of the annihilation of your country is irreconcilable. Also, your mother was also forced to her death by the Heavenly Talisman Emperor. Now, you're working for him. You're really ungrateful. I won't allow my sister to have such an unfilial son. Yun's eyes narrowed as killing intent surged. I'm not working for the Heavenly Talisman Emperor. I'm working for the people of the world. Killing the barbarians and saving the commoners has nothing to do with the Heavenly Talisman Emperor. Clipchamp said, I can't just listen to one side of the story about my mother's death. I'll naturally investigate it. But even if the Xian dynasty ruled the Chen clan, you can't just watch as the commoners are sacrificed by the barbarians. I caught Qin Jianfeng and let him go. I didn't go against my mother's clan either. How am I ungrateful in everything I do? Do you want me to rebel? Create chaos in Xian province and let the barbarians and the evil sects benefit? His voice was loud and clear. It traveled far and wide and actually contained a trace of righteousness. He inherited the heaven-worshipping talisman and obtained the Emperor's god bestowment art. He knew that divine weapons belonged to the virtuous. Every action he took was righteous. Killing the demons, barbarians, guarding the town, and moving the commoners were all the same. Gradually, he developed a bit of morality, and his understanding of the Son of Heaven's investiture art became deeper. The sun and moon refinement didn't just refine the spirit, chi, blood, and flesh. It also tempered one's spirit, nurtured a majestic atmosphere, and created a heart of order for the people. This was the essence of the refinement of sun and moon. How could mere changes in martial arts, movement of chi and blood, and meditation of the mind be able to summarize the refinement of sun and moon? The sun and the moon moved in the sky, illuminating the world, driving the airflow, rain, and warmth. All life came from the sun and the moon. It could be said that without the sun and the moon, there would be no life. The sun and moon refinement was to establish order and nourish all living beings. At the same time, it would also punish those who did not abide by the order and were sinful. Hearing Gu Chench's words, Chen Lingyun was shocked. She could feel the firm will of this person. Then let me ask you, how will you walk your Tao in the future? I want to hear what grand ambitions my sister's son has. I don't have any grand ambitions for now. I just want to cultivate diligently, know right from wrong, know good from evil, and walk the righteous path. I will follow the rules of the ancient sages and start from the small things. Gu Qinsha answered honestly. This was something he had learned. Starting from the small things might seem simple, but as long as everything is done meticulously and perfectly, one will definitely achieve great things. Chen Lingyu nodded in agreement. Those who talk big and have grand ambitions will achieve nothing if they don't do the small things well. I have no intention of being enemies with you. Gu Qinsha said, perhaps we can be friends? Friends? Chen Lingyun laughed involuntarily. That works too. Return the art-breaking immortal sword and the heartless mind-seizing talisman that you stole just now, and I can acknowledge you as my nephew. That won't do. I can't even guarantee my own safety. Gu Qinsha wasn't stupid. I will let Chen Jianfeng off, and these 2 items will be his ransom. How about it? Even 10 Chen Jianfengs won't be able to block one of them. Chen Lingyun wasn't afraid that Gu Qinsha would run. But it is okay if you don't hand it over, because you won't be able to run. You aren't even at Dao Realm, so how will you be able to escape from me? Little Ant should be at Dao Realm Transformation 4, swallowing metal to turn into stone. While she spoke, her aura was like refined steel, soft like a finger. Her 5 viscera and 6 bowels were like a furnace that could melt metal and stone. I'm naturally not your match at such a realm. Gu Qinsha smiled, but I definitely have a way to protect myself. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to escape from the art-breaking celestial sword. I'm really curious. Chen Lingyun didn't do anything. Nephew, the gap between us is just too huge. But I feel that you are a talent, and you are my only son. I won't hurt you, but I will take you away. I can't let you follow the Heaven Talisman Emperor. Little Ant, please teach me. Gu Qinsha didn't take off his armor, and just did the Great Spirit God technique pose. Chen Lingyun was a good opponent, so naturally, he had to train. Of course, this was really dangerous. Even if he wore the horned dragon armor, he wouldn't be her match. Lotus pond flower blooms, petals fragrant, withering impermanence, spiritual roots remain. Chen Lingyun's hands danced. She wasn't using the Great Spirit God technique, but another mysterious technique. Her steps were light, and with every step she took, a wave of air would explode beneath her feet like a lotus flower. This was the extremely mysterious state of lotus blossoming with each step. Gu couldn't see it with his naked eye. She was right in front of him, and her palms were like lotus leaves swaying in the wind. Even his dream soul was filled with the fragrance of the lotus, and he was about to be intoxicated. He actually felt like he was about to enter a pure and peaceful state. Son of heaven, sun and moon in the sky. Without thinking, Gu Chunsha entered the sun and moon refining realm. His hand struck out with the yin and yang hard and soft forces, trying to block Chun Lingyun's attack. But it was useless. No matter how mysterious Gu Chencha's strength was, no matter how tough the horn dragon armor was, it couldn't block Chun Lingyun's lotus-like fist energy. Bang! His body shot out like a cannonball and fell down the cliff. In the blink of an eye, he was gone. What? Chun Lingyun rushed to the edge of the cliff and waved her hand. The golden rock flew down and carried her down the cliff. She searched inch by inch, but there was no sign of Gu Qinsha. He can't have disappeared just like that. She was also a little dizzy. According to her thinking, Gu Qinsha couldn't have escaped. No matter how fast he ran, could he be faster than the golden rock? Search! She burned a talisman. The flame exploded and then extinguished. This was a tracking talisman. The flame would follow the direction of the person and would extinguish if it couldn't find the person. Divination. She took out a few copper coins and threw them on the ground. But the copper coins were also messed up. They couldn't tell north from south. He has an extremely powerful talisman on him. It can disturb heaven's secrets and hide his aura. Chun Lingyun frowned and thought for a while. But do you think you can escape from me? The imperial court and the barbarians are at war. You have to come out eventually. I don't believe you can hide forever. She jumped on the back of the golden rock and flew away again. They waited until dawn. A person climbed up the cliff. It was Gu Qinsha. He smiled bitterly. Mayan is really powerful. Even with the horn dragon armor, I couldn't even take one move from her. Luckily, I got the heartless stealing talisman. I can use it to subdue the experts of the barbarians. He knew about the heartless stealing talisman. It was recorded in ancient books that the ancient celestials and spirits used it to change evil people. As long as one dripped their blood on it and tossed it out, the talisman would spread out and enter the enemy's body. The enemy would listen to your orders and wouldn't go against you for the rest of their lives. Unless the enemy was strong enough to cultivate the samadhi true fire, the nameless vital energy in their body would flow around their body and into their brain, refining everything. This talisman would be useless. This talisman was really hard to craft, and even the imperial family only had one of it. After climbing up the cliff, Gu Chansha entered the altar space and dripped a few drops of heaven dew on the talisman. Wang. The talisman was instantly engraved with the energy of dragons and tigers. It flew into the air and a green light shone brightly. As expected, heaven dew is not only the best nourishment for humans, but it can also nourish treasures. As long as a treasure gets heaven dew, it will slowly become stronger and the impurities within will be washed away. Gu Qinsha was delighted. For Chun Lingyun to use this talisman, she had to build an altar and do all sorts of preparations. After he dripped the heaven dew, the talisman's power recovered. As long as he activated it with his mind, it would fly out. If he could control a barbarian race expert to be his servant, his strength would increase greatly. As a secret hidden in the manor, who would dare to do anything to him? He thought back to the barbarian race god envoy who reached the Tao Realm 7 transformation in the Peach County God Temple. He flew into the air and turned his Sciention Earth energy into a bubble. If he could control this barbarian race god envoy, not only would he be able to break the barbarian race's plot, but he would also gain a top expert for himself. Under normal circumstances, even if I have the sun and moon altar, I won't be able to get close to a high-level existence like the barbarian race god envoy. But last time, that god envoy didn't seem to notice me. It seems like he is cultivating a technique, and he is guarding some spacecraft so that the barbarian race god envoy can be teleported over. I can use this chance. Forget it, riches come from danger. If I can subdue the barbarian race god envoy with a heartless stealing talisman, Then my strength will soar, and I will be able to fight against the many princes. Gu Qinsha did as he said. No matter how strong the princes were, they couldn't have a Tao Realm 7 transformation celestial as a servant. In the cultivation world, a person who could fly and float in the air could barely be considered a celestial. He leaped and sprinted. With the hornless dragon armor, his speed had increased tremendously. Even a martial master would feel like a gust of wind had passed him. The only flaw was that the hornless dragon armor couldn't fly. Maybe the improved great dragon armor will be able to do so. The heavenly dew can increase the power of Dharma treasures. This hornless dragon armor is also a powerful Dharma treasure. If I soak it in the heavenly dew, will it become more powerful? While running, he couldn't help but think. Therefore, he stopped again and took out the demon conquering blade. He dripped a drop of heavenly dew on it. Originally, the demon conquering blade was cracked by the spell breaker immortal sword. But when the heavenly dew dripped on it, the cracks on the blade gradually healed until it was completely restored. Chapter 62. Could it be that I didn't drip enough heavenly dew? Gu Qinsha dripped a few more drops, but there was still no reaction. He was patient and dripped 100 drops. As expected, the armor began to squirm. The light blue color started to turn golden. After the heavenly dew touched the hornless dragon armor, the liquid turned into a substance of the same origin as the hornless dragon armor, strengthening the armor itself. The heavenly dew is indeed miraculous. It seems to be able to transform all substances. After drinking it, it will strengthen the human body. When watered, it will make plants stronger. Dripping it on armor will make it stronger and lighter. This is similar to the heavenly Tao of sun and moon. It nourishes all things, and all things use the power of the sun and moon to grow. After 100 drops, the hornless dragon armor turned blue gold. Its power increased slightly, but there was still no substantial change. Gu Qinsha knew that the heavenly dew was not enough. He dripped another 100 drops on it. The hornless dragon armor's blue color disappeared completely, turning into a golden color. Its original appearance could not be seen anymore. The armor looked like it was made of gold, dazzling and domineering. Its defensive power increased again. How can I sneak in with this shiny golden light? Legend has it that dragons can change their size. When they are big, they can soar into the sky. When they are small, they can hide in the caves of earthworms. I feel that this golden light doesn't match the transformation of a dragon. It hasn't returned to its original state. Gu Qinsha gritted his teeth and dripped another 200 drops. He only had a little more than 500 drops of heavenly dew. Wasting 400 on the hornless dragon armor was a gamble. If it didn't work, then so be it. He had to use the remaining 100 drops himself. He had to use the sun-moon slash and heal himself, so he couldn't waste it. As expected, the hornless dragon armor changed again after 200 drops. The golden light gradually disappeared, becoming faint and illusory. It was as soft as thin sand. When worn on the body, it was as if the person was shrouded in mist. It is indeed mysterious. Unfortunately, I still can't fly. Gu Qinsha experimented. His body moved forward and crashed into the giant boulder. Bada. A human-shaped hole appeared on the boulder. He had crashed through it, but his body didn't feel any recoil. Moreover, he felt like he was about to fly with the slightest bit of force. His feet floated without touching the ground. It felt like he was riding the wind, which increased his speed even more. However, it was impossible to truly fly. One had to borrow the power of the earth to launch attacks and run. If there's enough heavenly dew, this armor might transform into the great dragon armor. After experimenting for an hour, Gu Qinsha was very satisfied. The current hornless dragon armor's sturdiness and the strength it contained had at least doubled compared to before. Relying on the mysteries of this armor, even if he were to face the barbarian marshal, he would probably be able to fight to a draw. However, the armor was not his own strength, and he could not rely on it too much. He could not delay his own cultivation for the sake of a powerful armor. In this regard, Gu Chunsha was constantly on guard against himself, not daring to relax in the slightest. He abruptly leaped down the cliff, reaching a height of several hundred feet. When his feet landed on the ground, the huge impact was completely absorbed by the armor, and he did not suffer any injury. Then, he ran across the river. He was actually able to step on the surface of the water and walk on the waves. This was purely the power of the armor. With his increased speed, he quickly approached Peach County. At this time, Peach County was surrounded by barbarian soldiers and horses. They had tents and camps. Tens of thousands of barbarian soldiers spread out with the county temple as the center, but in an orderly manner. Why are there no rations? Gu Qinsha found a corner and hid in the sun-moon altar. He observed carefully and found that it was very safe. However, he discovered that the barbarian soldiers did not bring rations. Sometimes they brought water bottles with them to eat and drink. After drinking a mouthful of juice, they immediately became energetic. Their horses also drank this. The barbarian army did not bring rations, so they had to kill commoners as sacrifices. However, the surrounding commoners had all been killed, and even more had left this place. Now that the army could no longer kill people as sacrifices, they had to bring rations. Otherwise, they would starve, freeze, or die of illness. There would be many casualties, and they would collapse without a battle. He waited for the sky to turn dark before he went deeper. He once again snuck into the temple and eavesdropped on the conversation between the two barbarian martial arts grandmasters. This time, the Great Wei dynasty actually sent us rations and wine. 1 gourd is enough for a soldier and a horse for 3 months. Otherwise, how can we possibly enter the Yonko territory? Once the soldiers and horses are gathered, we will kill more of those foolish commoners as sacrifices to the god. We will definitely be able to enter the realm of Tao. I can't wait now. A barbarian martial arts grandmaster muttered in the barbarian language. As a prince, Gu Chencha's education was very strict. The barbarian language was also a subject, and he could understand some of it. Some of the local languages were automatically translated into a language that he could understand in his mind. This rations and wine is brewed from many grains and herbs. It concentrates the essence of the food. After I drink it, I'm slightly drunk. Energy flows through my limbs. It is beneficial for cultivation. In the future, we have to store more of this. It would be best if we attack the Great Wei dynasty and turn all the people of that dynasty into sacrifices for the god. Another barbarian martial arts grandmaster laughed. The Great Wei dynasty is actually providing the rations and wine. This is no ordinary participation, but a strategic cooperation. However, I feel that things are not so simple. Gu Qinsha was secretly shocked. This rations and wine might have side effects or be addictive. I don't believe that the Great Wei dynasty is so kind. They should also know that the barbarians are wolf cubs that cannot be tamed. Throughout history, any dynasty that has tried to appease the barbarians will always be bitten by the barbarians. Let's not care about this for now. I don't want to alert the enemy. Originally, he had wanted to assassinate these 2 barbarian martial arts grandmasters. However, after thinking about the purpose of this trip, he realized that it was to control the barbarian tribe divine envoy. He had confidence in what Chun Lingyun could not do. This was because the faithless mind capturing talisman had been nourished by the heavenly dew and its power had reached its maximum. If he controlled the barbarian tribe divine envoy, then all the wealth in the temple would be at his disposal. Hold on. The barbarian tribe divine envoy seems to be communicating with the evil god. If I control him, will the evil god interfere? Will that cause my control to fail? If that happens, not only will I lose the faithless mind capturing talisman, but I might also die a horrible death. Gu Chunsha considered many things. In the depths of his mind, he deduced the following plan. He had to consider all the things that were going to happen. As the saying went, the art of war was to plan things from 1,000 miles away. Let's not care about this for now. I'll go closer and observe. After thinking for a long time, he decided to think of various countermeasures on the spot. Thus, he was familiar with the route and avoided the layers of patrols. Once again, he approached the place where the barbarian tribe divine envoy had trained. This time, he did not meet Prince Gu. He guessed that Prince Gu had lost 18 heavenly dragon soul gathering flags and was furious. Breathe, breathe. No one entered the surroundings of the temple where the barbarian tribe divine envoy resided. It seemed to be a forbidden area. Even the high-level barbarian marshals did not dare to disturb it. The sound of breathing could be heard again. The inside of the palace was pitch black, and many bubbles emerged. The bubbles were multicolored, gorgeous, and overflowing with color. After rising and falling for a while, they withdrew and then emerged again, repeating this cycle endlessly. Should I hide in the depths of the temple and see what the barbarian tribe divine envoy looks like? Guchen Shah thought about it. He still did not dare to go near the area where the bubbles gathered. He could only wait. He was very patient. He hid in the depths of the sun-moon altar and observed the situation. After some time, the sound of footsteps could be heard. The barbarian marshal, who was as tall as a giant, appeared. He did not enter the entrance of the temple. Instead, he knelt on one knee and spoke in the barbarian language. Greetings, Lord Divine Envoy. All the bubbles retracted. A man wrapped in a black robe appeared at the entrance of the pitch-black hall. His face could not be seen clearly. He spoke in a piercing voice. Marshal Ku Lu, what's the matter? Yes, the Great Wei dynasty has already transported all the military provisions and wine. Our warriors have already begun to drink it. According to the doctor's observations, although this wine is good, drinking it for a long time will cause one to become addicted. If they do not drink it, they may even feel weak all over and finally go crazy and die. The barbarian Marshal Ku Lu reported, the Great Wei dynasty has ill intentions. They want to use this to control us. Lord Divine Envoy, what should we do? Our production of the blood-strengthening pill is insufficient. It is difficult for the nobles to supply them. For this expedition, relying on the blood-strengthening pill will not do. Only the military provisions and wine can support our march. The barbarian divine envoy waved his hand. Bring me a gourd of military provisions and wine. Yes. The barbarian Marshal Ku Lu removed the gourd he carried with him and handed it over respectfully. The barbarian divine envoy opened the gourd and actually drank a mouthful. This military provisions and wine is good stuff. However, it has been added with an addictive drug. This drug is very unique, but is also a good medicine. It can raise one's spirit, increase one's stamina, reduce pain, and allow the warriors to kill their enemies bravely on the battlefield without fear. It is a pity that taking it for a long period of time will harm the body. After becoming addicted, one day of consumption is indispensable. You do not have to worry about this. I will report this to the Archbishop and let him research an antidote. Yes, the barbarian Marshal Ku Lu asked, do the soldiers still need to take it? For the time being, there is no problem. It can also increase one's cultivation. This thing should only become addictive after taking it for 2 months. At that time, we will have succeeded. As long as we conquer the great Yonko and sacrifice all the foolish people, we will be able to strengthen our divine powers and allow our God to accomplish an unprecedented feat. The barbarian divine envoy threw the gourd to Ku Lu. Our God gave me instructions yesterday, saying that we need to kill as many people as possible as soon as possible. Our God is already impatient. We need to attack as soon as possible and conquer Banan province. There are millions of people in this province. If we can kill and sacrifice them all, our God will definitely have more power to do many things. We will also be blessed by God. Chapter 63. Lord Oracle, when are you going to break through the 8th transformation and ignite the true fire in your body? Barbarian Marshal Ku Lu lowered his head. It's difficult. If you can't break through the other transformations, it won't be life-threatening. But if you can't break through this transformation, you will burn yourself. It's the same for the 8th and 9th transformations. Rubbing your true energy, boiling your blood, and burning your body. If you're not careful, you'll immediately turn into smoke. The oracle said, all right, retreat, and organize the troops. Tonight, when the world is the most cloudy, Barbarian King Kero will come. Barbarian King Kero. Kulu trembled, as if this king was very scary. Then what should I do? Arrange the defense. This time, no one is allowed to sneak in. Barbarian King Kero is extremely powerful. When he comes, the crack may not be able to hold. I need to use my strength to support him. That will be my weakest moment. The Barbarian Race Divine Envoy said. Also, no matter what happens in the vicinity of this temple, you must not approach, lest the ripples from the cracks tear you to pieces. Yes, I'll immediately arrange the defense and gather all the experts around. Even birds are not allowed to fly in the sky. The Barbarian Marshal understood the importance of the matter and hurriedly retreated. The oracle returned to the temple and hid in the darkness. However, in the depths of the temple, waves of heart palpitations could be felt. Guqinsha heard these words and smiled. It seems that I'm really lucky. If I suddenly sneak attacked, I wouldn't have the chance to use the Heartless Stealing Talisman. But at the most vulnerable moment of the oracle, I have a 30% chance of success. Barbarian King Kero seems to be stronger than the oracle, but I can't deal with him. But as long as I destroy it, he won't be able to come here from the barbarian land. Thinking of this, his smile sank, but I also have to be careful of the oracle's tricks. He clearly knows that I sneaked in and stole a lot of wealth from the treasury. I also killed the 4 old devils, but he couldn't find any clues. It's easy for him to sneak in again. Therefore, he pretended to be very weak, but there's no such thing. He's just testing me and spreading the news so that I'll know and come and deal with him. It's not impossible to fall into his trap. Now, when he did things, he was considerate of all aspects. He did not act rashly, nor did he cower. Patiently lurking, he observed the movements in the temple hall. Gradually, the night grew darker. The sky was covered with dark clouds, and not a single star or moon could be seen. Sometimes, the cold wind whistled, and it really felt like the night was dark and windy. Suddenly, the cries of ghosts and gods came from the depths of the temple, and the yin-chi between heaven and earth suddenly increased. Pale green willow, the wisps appeared in the temple hall, floating in the air. They were all the size of a human head, burning fiercely, changing into distorted faces. Those who were timid would be scared to death. Guqinsha was in high spirits as he observed carefully. He knew that this pale green ghost flame was probably formed from innate stellar energy. With the willow, the wisp, he could clearly see the people in the temple hall. Only the divine emissary of the barbarian race stood up and danced. The dance had a strong, ancient style with a hint of wildness, as if a shaman was praying to the gods. At the same time, this dance was also an extremely profound martial art. Guqinsha memorized it as he watched it. In the future, he could go back and study it, and maybe it could enrich his martial arts experience. In front of the divine emissary of the barbarian race, there was a pitch-black door. It was 5 to 6 feet tall and 3 to 4 feet wide. There were many black lights circulating inside, as if it could absorb everything. The cries of ghosts and gods came from the door. This was the crack in space, and on the other side was the barbarian land. This was no longer a power that could be opened by humans. It was the power of gods. These days, the barbarian race had killed countless people to worship the evil god. The evil god had used his supernatural power to open this door, allowing the barbarian race army to be teleported in continuously. When Guqinsha saw this, he wanted to destroy the door immediately, so that the barbarian race army could not return and could only be wiped out in the 3 counties. But other than Peach County, there were also T County and N County. There are definitely teleportation doors. To withstand the teleportation door, very tough materials were needed. The materials used in this temple were very special. Guqinsha had long known that it was provided by the Great Wei dynasty. It's already midnight. Guqinsha calculated that Prince Karo should be coming out from here. Roar. At this moment, a loud roar came from the door in the crack in space. This sound reverberated in the hall, causing the earth to shake and the mountains to shake. The will-o'-the-wisp swayed. This roar did not come from a human, but from a giant beast that lay dormant in hell. It specialized in devouring people's hearts, human souls, and human corpses. Hearing this sound, Guchansha seemed to see a demon sleeping in the plains of white bones. How terrifying and terrifying was this? Absolutely cannot let the barbarian king come out. Guchansha wanted to charge out. Once the barbarian king appeared, all living beings would be wiped out. No one here could fight him at all. He was probably above Tao Realm 9 transformation. Tao Realm 9 transformation, glass J-body. Once one cultivated it, one would be invulnerable to evil and unbreakable. One's body would be as clean as glass, flawless both inside and out. One would be invincible. Going one step further, the Tao Realm 10 transformation involved the soul and spiritual sense. This was why the Tao Realm 10 transformation was called One Heart Thousand Things. At that time, one's heart would be able to calculate and think about thousands of things at the same time. One would be able to calculate cultivation techniques, deduce the Tao of the heavens, see one's flesh and blood, and analyze spiritual energy. It would be thousands of times better than low-level Tao Realm. Especially in battle, one would be able to control the changes in the Xiantian earth energy, which far exceeded the 9 transformation. Right, I still have the ocean-splitting thunderbolt. If not, I will detonate this thing. Guchansha calculated calmly. Why don't I wait for the barbarian king to come out and just blow him up? No, it seems like the ocean-splitting thunderbolt can't kill Glass J-body experts. But if I kill the barbarian race god envoy, then won't I be able to use the heartless snatching talisman? This god temple has been leveled to the ground, so I can't ask for rewards. I can't say that I did it. That way, there will be no evidence, and my contributions will be buried. Forget it. I can't care so much about this. Pooh! In the hall, along with a furious roar, the barbarian race god envoy spat out a mouthful of blood. As expected, he injected his Xiantian earth energy into the space crack. As expected, he was at his weakest. Seize the chance. Guchansha came out of the sun-moon sacrificial altar and jumped into the divine temple. Ha! As expected, I fell for it. The divine emissary of the barbarian race suddenly turned around. The hood of his black robe was lifted, revealing a pale face. His eyes were sunken, and he looked like a ghost. His aura was powerful, and with a wave of his hand, a huge bubble immediately appeared beside Guchansha, wrapping him up. He didn't give Guchansha any chance to react. Unfortunately, Guchansha also made a move at this moment. He held the blood-stained, sea-splitting perilous bead in his hand. Not good. Ocean-splitting thunderbolt, mutual destruction. The barbarian race god envoy was shocked. If Guchansha had used any kind of attack, he wouldn't have been afraid at all. Enveloping him with the innate Gangchi ball was equivalent to locking him in a cage. However, the sea-splitting thunderbolt was different. Once it was activated, the entire temple would probably be reduced to dust. But he couldn't stop it now. Damn it, why do you have this thing? Do you want to die? Rumble. The ocean-splitting thunderbolt was used for mutual destruction. It could only be activated by holding it with both hands, dripping blood on it, and chanting an incantation. It couldn't be thrown out, nor could it be used as a cannon. Maha prison, suppress. The barbarian race god envoy was sweating all over. He exerted all his Xiantian earth energy to wrap the ocean-splitting thunderbolt. At the same time, a layer of black smoke appeared on his body. The smoke turned into scales, unknown as to what kind of magical armor it was. The ocean-splitting thunderbolt exploded. It exploded in the bubble of Xiantian earth energy. There was a muffled sound, and a bubble that could crush steel into molten iron burst open. Huge flames and destructive power swept in all directions. First of all, this palace hall was hit. The stones were instantly turned into powder, and the palace hall at the top of the sky was also directly blown away, and no one knew where it went. Then, the huge stone pillars in the surroundings were also reduced to nothingness. The barbarian race god Envoy's black smoke armor suffered the impact, and began to crack inch by inch. But more Sciention Earth energy emerged from his body to protect him. Another talisman turned into black smoke and wrapped around him. It was unknown how many protective magical treasures he had used. But in the face of this explosive impact, it was useless. The Sciention Earth energy was the first to shatter, and so was the talisman. The situation of the divine temple outside was even more tragic. Many houses had been blown into the sky, and the barbarian soldiers had disappeared into thin air like dust. With the divine temple as the center, almost half of the county town had been destroyed. Huge flames rushed into the sky like a mushroom. Clipchamp was in the sun-moon altar at the center of the explosion. He was stunned as he watched the explosion of the ocean-splitting thunderbolt. This was not something a human could achieve. Fortunately, the sun-moon altar was not in the same space. The ocean-splitting thunderbolt only had the power to destroy half the county. It was still far from being able to shake space. Just now, he had almost died from the explosion. When the ocean-splitting thunderbolt was activated, his consciousness had entered the sun-moon altar. If he had been a second slower, he would have been dead even with the hornless dragon armor. He was at the center of the explosion. After the explosion, the space-time rift door disappeared. The barbarian king did not come out. Oh, the barbarian god envoy is still alive? Clipchamp took advantage of the chaos to jump out again. He found the barbarian god envoy in tatters, lying on the ground. He was struggling to get up. He was seriously injured but not dead. Isn't it said that those below the glass jade body will die? Maybe this barbarian god envoy has a trump card. His talisman is very strong. But since he is not dead, it suits me. The heavens are helping me. Clipchamp was overjoyed to see that the barbarian god envoy was only seriously injured and not dead. He did not dare to approach, because even if the barbarian god envoy was seriously injured, he was still not someone he could deal with. Fortunately, he had the faithless heart seizing talisman. This was also part of his plan. As long as the barbarian god envoy was not dead, the faithless heart seizing talisman would be useful. Seizing heart, go. Chapter 64. As expected, although the barbarian race god envoy was badly injured, he still had the strength to fight. If Clipchamp appeared and attacked him, he would still be killed. Even if he was at the end of his rope, he could kill 10 Clipchamp in 3 breaths. Sciention energy appeared on the barbarian race god envoy's body once more. He chose to protect himself first, but the green light from the talisman didn't attack. It directly merged with the Sciention energy and then into the barbarian race god envoy's body. The divine envoy of the barbarian tribe hugged his head and rolled on the ground. His image was completely ruined. Clipchamp quickly dodged away. He had never tested the power of the faithless mind-capturing talisman. He had only seen the records and usage of this talisman in ancient books. Slowly, the barbarian race god envoy stood up and jumped in front of him, scaring him. He nearly wanted to hide in the sun-moon altar space. But the barbarian race god envoy's next words filled him with joy. "Master, your loyal servant Kakata greets you." The barbarian race god envoy knelt down on one knee. "This talisman is really strong. Or did I use sky due to increase its strength? I actually made this barbarian race god envoy yield." Clipchamp felt that he had a spiritual connection with the barbarian race god envoy and could command him to do some things. "Bring me out of here," Clipchamp instructed. Yes, the god of the barbarian tribe moved. Suddenly, a stream of air wrapped around him and Clipchamp out of thin air. With a swoosh, he rushed into the air faster than a bird and flew away. In less than half an hour, he had already reached the mountain that was hundreds of miles away. "Put me down," Clipchamp ordered once more. Yes, the barbarian race god envoy landed on the ground and retracted his Sciention energy. He spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. "Are you okay?" Clipchamp asked. "Master, I am okay." Kakata knelt down on one knee once more. "Because of the explosion, my meridians were injured and my essence energy was damaged. I just need to rest for 10 days to half a month before I recover. Then, Can you reach Tao Realm Transformation 8? Gu Chenxia asked this question. He was a little afraid that after the barbarian tribe divine envoy advanced to the 8 transformations, he would refine the power of the heartless, seizing talisman in his body. If he lost control of it, he would die without a burial. In other words, the barbarian race's divine envoy, Kakata, was like a thunderbolt that could explode at any time. Master, I'm cultivating the Maha Suppression Scripture. It's one of the highest secret scriptures in the sect. At the crucial moment, I have to communicate with God King Maha and receive his guidance. Only then can I break through. Now that I no longer believe in God King Maha, there's no hope for me to break through. The divine envoy of the barbarian race hurriedly said, unless I switch to another secret scripture, but that is not something that can be done in a day. It will take at least a few decades, or even longer. That's good. Gu Qinsha relaxed. He knew that after the barbarian race god envoy was hit by the talisman, he wouldn't lie. This meant that he had a Tao Realm Transformation 7 slave. Thinking about it, he was shocked. What did Tao Realm 7 transformations mean? Perhaps the hidden grand elders of those 1,000-year-old clans were also at this level of cultivation. I can't be too arrogant now. I can't expose Kakata and can only train talents for me in the dark to accumulate strength. Gu Qinsha slowly calmed down. I am relying on the talisman to control him. If I expose it and the other princes find out, they might be able to find a way to remove the talisman. When that happens, I will be in danger. Especially 7th Prince Gafasha, he definitely wouldn't allow himself to have such a strong servant. Moreover, Gafasha's cultivation was above that of the barbarian race god envoy. It was best if he didn't reveal this huge fortune. Kakata, you should change your name. You should call yourself Gu. No, that is the name of the royal family, so you should call yourself Chun. That doesn't seem right. People will think that you are from the Xian dynasty royal family. How about this? You should be called Yiming, the same surname as my godson. Gu Qinsha thought about it. Yiming greets master. He knelt down once more. It isn't appropriate for you to look like this. With a horn dragon armor. Gu Qinsha took out a set of armor from the space inside the altar and wrapped it around Yiming's body. This way, no one would be able to find out anything about him. Now that the barbarians of Peach County are in chaos, I will immediately return and gather the army to annihilate the barbarians in Peach County. Once everything was arranged, Gu Qinsha remembered something important. Wiping out the barbarian race troops in Peach County was the most important thing. If he could take back Peach County and wipe out tens of thousands of them, that would be a huge merit. Not only would he be heavily rewarded, but his strength would also increase. With Yiming, who was at the Tao Realm 7 transformation, Gu Qinsha returned to the small town really quickly. At this moment, all the soldiers in the town were looking into the distance. The giant explosion had spread hundreds of miles away. They didn't know what had happened, but they didn't dare to send troops out. 19th Master, you're finally back? Sure, Tai Tai was also in full armor and was prepared to fight at any moment. When he saw Gu Qinsha, he knelt down on one knee. An armored person followed behind Gu Qinsha. He didn't ask anything, which was really wise. I know what all of you want to ask, but now isn't the time to talk. Prepare to fight. Head to Peach County. Gu Qinsha ordered. There was a giant explosion in Peach County and the barbarian race temple collapsed. All the experts were killed. We will attack right away and we will definitely be able to take back Peach County. We will gain many merits and achieve great things. Yes, everyone was pumped up and all of them sharpened their blades to make ample preparations. Let's go. The order was issued, and it was like a mountain. Everyone took advantage of the darkness and set out for Peach County. Shindu. The sky was bright. The sun hung high in the sky, and it was a good day. Lu Baiwe breathed in and out and opened her eyes. Green energy surged into her body and flowed around her. The entire room was filled with the energy of spring. Princess, your cultivation is getting stronger and stronger. Miao Xiang and the others served her. Why haven't I seen any cultivation techniques recently? After I stepped into Tao Realm, The Emperor taught it to me personally. It is called the Great Devouring Soul Technique. It doesn't swallow the surrounding spiritual energy, but uses a high meditation frequency to form a key to open a higher dimension. It filters celestial energy that is higher than spiritual energy. Lu Baiwei didn't continue and stood up. What is a dimension? I studied hard and didn't find such a word. Miao Xiang asked. This isn't something you can understand now. Wait until you step into Dao realm. Lu Baiwei was very attentive in teaching these maids. The martial arts of the 10 of you are actually about the same. You have studied hard in the Lu family since young and have fought many times. You have also gone on many missions and annihilated bandits. However, real battlefield experience, fighting bloody battles, and killing tens of thousands of people are still not enough. The life and death experience of advancing to the Dao realm must come from this aspect. I see that the barbarian army is almost mobilized. It is time to set off and sweep the enemy's nest. Princess, the temple in Peach County has exploded and the barbarians are in a mess. Prince 19 is leading the troops to attack. Suddenly, Xixiang came in with the latest news in her hand. This is the eagle message that was just sent. Why did it explode? Did you find out? Lu Baiwei frowned. Could it be that the barbarians' own space crack fluctuated? That caused all our efforts to be in vain? I don't know. It only happened half a day ago. Only 10 hours have passed since midnight. Xixiang quickly replied. It was Shi Zhongqie who sent a message to Inspector Ba Nan. Our people in Inspector Ba Nan received the news and released the eagle. That's how we got the news. I wonder what's going on in Peach County now. Immediately lead the troops to Peach County in Ba Nan Province. Lu Baiwei stood up. The explosion was something she didn't expect. Third Prince has also led the troops. At this moment, Mei Xiang also hurried in and reported the situation. Third Prince was waiting for Gu Chansha to make a move and let him alert the enemy. He also wanted to see what other experts the barbarians have, but he didn't expect that he would make such a big move. If the barbarians really suffered heavy losses because of the explosion, the credit will be Gu Chensh's. In the future, the imperial court will reward him according to his contribution. He will lose all his face. This time, the national policy set by the emperor is to exterminate the barbarians. Based on the prince's contribution, we will focus on training him. As Lu Baiwei spoke, she had already left. The sound of fighting could be heard dozens of miles away. Peach County had turned into a battlefield. Gu Qinsha led the troops under his command, in addition to Shirtaidi's army. They converged into a torrent and took advantage of the chaos to kill their way into the panicking barbarian camp. They didn't want to take any prisoners, they just wanted to kill. It was like an iron nail piercing into the heart, and the barbarian army was caught unprepared. On that day, Gu Qinsha alone had intercepted thousands of barbarian cavalrymen. Although he had been trapped, he had still managed to kill 200 to 300 of them. Now, with the help of the army, his killing speed had increased by 10 times. What was even more terrifying was that all of his subordinates were wearing horned dragon armor. It could be said that they were impervious to swords and spears. They were as strong as bulls and arrows, swords and spears pierced their bodies, but they didn't even budge. From this, one could see how invincible the horned dragon armor was. Even if a commoner without any training wore it, he or she could kill 10 elite warriors. If it could really be mass-produced, then the Great Yong Army's extermination of the barbarians wouldn't just be empty talk. Puffed, puffed. However, Gu Qinsha did not wear the horned dragon armor. On this battlefield, he was naturally honing his martial arts. However, his killing speed was the fastest. When the demon-conquering blade passed by, it was like cutting vegetables. The barbarian soldiers, warriors, martial arts masters, and even the martial arts grandmasters of the barbarian tribe all fell to the ground. Any attack was reflected back. His moves were exquisite and ingenious. In an instant, countless blood balls and souls floated in the space of his sacrificial altar. Originally, there were 500 drops of heavenly dew, but now there were less than 100 drops left. He could kill more barbarian soldiers and generals, and use them as sacrifices to replenish them in the future. Now, he knew that the more heavenly dew he had, the better. Not only could it help him improve and strengthen his flesh, but it could also make his weapons more precious. Even the plants would gain spirituality and evolve continuously. Rumor had it that even ordinary weeds would gain spirituality and become spirits after coming into contact with the heavenly dew. Clipchamp had yet to fully understand the wonders of the heavenly dew. Liu Yu, Jiao Yang, and the other two were also honing their martial arts techniques in the midst of killing. In the chaos, they did not kill the ordinary barbarian soldiers, but instead found the martial arts grandmasters of the barbarian tribe and experts of the level of generals to train themselves. Chapter 65. During the battle, Clipchamp took the opportunity to observe the situation of his army. Although his 243-man army was ferocious, their killing speed was far inferior to Shurtaidi's army. Shurtaidi's army didn't wear the horned flood dragon armor, but the inferior war python armor. The standard armor of the great Yonko army was ordinary armor, refined armor, spirit snake armor, and war python armor. Each was further divided into upper, middle, and lower grades. The most ordinary bailiffs and tax collectors wore ordinary armor, but they were also made of leather and iron. They were sturdy and could block swords. The refined armor was worn by the constables of the Six Doors Gate. They were used to apprehend bandits and do dangerous things. As for the spirit snake armor, it was for the military officers. The war python armor was only bestowed to generals or true elites who had rendered meritorious service to the enemy. Only warriors with great achievements in battle could be bestowed the armor. Right now, everyone in Shurtaidi's army was equipped with a war python armor. This meant that every warrior had killed at least 100 barbarians. As for the various armors worn by the nobles, they were made by themselves and couldn't be mass-produced. In the past, it was a great crime for the nobles to possess bows and armors. However, the Heavenly Talisman dynasty lifted the ban, allowing the nobles to own weapons as long as they couldn't kill or injure others. Ordinary people could also bring swords and sabers on the streets. With this, the Heavenly Talisman Immortal Emperor gained the support of countless people. This also showed how confident he was in controlling everything. If one's cultivation was too high, they wouldn't care about such small matters. No matter how many weapons the nobles had, as long as they dared to rebel, they would be reduced to dust. The value of the war python armor was huge. A low-grade armor could be exchanged for a village. However, it still couldn't be compared to the horned flood dragon armor. The horned flood dragon armor was an epic-making advancement, symbolizing the leap of military equipment. However, Shurtaidi's army had amazing formations. They formed small formations in threes, and the small formations formed a large formation. The army was, as a whole, sometimes forming a needle, piercing through the barbarian army's defensive formation. Other times, it formed a sawtooth fan, rolling forward and reaping lives. There were also capable people amongst the barbarians. They shouted loudly and organized themselves into a defensive formation. Shield bearers, spearmen, archers, and cavalrymen stacked on top of each other. However, the moment the formation was set up, Shurtaidi gave the order to disperse the formation. The formation changed back into a fan shape, and the sickle formation reaped the harvest. After going back and forth a few times, the barbarian soldiers were still unable to form a strong battle formation. They fought on their own, collided with each other, and even trampled on each other. Soon, they were utterly defeated. On the other hand, Clipchamp's 243-man army did not have this kind of ability. They still gathered together and relied on their physical strength to kill the enemy. They did not have a clear grasp of the battlefield. They had also learned the art of war and trained in battle formations. Unfortunately, when it came to using them, it was not the same thing. This was an experience that could only be gained after thousands of battles. Not to mention the low efficiency, it was also easy to deplete one's stamina. Gradually, the stamina of some of the youths could no longer keep up. If not for the protection of the horned WIRM armor, they might have already lost half of their group. Inexperienced. Gu Chunsha shook his head repeatedly. Even if they had the horned WIRM armor, this kind of troop would be completely exhausted if they were surrounded by the barbarian army of tens of thousands. They would be captured and eventually die. Yiming did not make a move. Instead, he followed behind Gu Chunsha. He was the greatest trump card, and he was only waiting for an expert to appear. The barbarian army was already in a state of panic. Although they had the numbers, they lacked true experts. This was the best time to train their troops. Roar! The barbarian army retreated in defeat. At this moment, an ancient halberd suddenly rushed out from the midst of the barbarian army. It swept up a violent gust of wind, and in the blink of an eye, it was right in front of Gu Chunsha. Behind the ancient halberd, there was a figure as tall as a demon god. The barbarian marshal actually did not die from the explosion. Gu Chunsha had already expected this. The demon's subduing blade was constantly changing, and he forcefully received the halberd. Dang! The power transmitted from the halberd was tyrannical. It took the form of a spiral and seeped into his body, destroying his meridians. This hidden force was simply at its peak. Sun and moon changes meld ice and snow. Gu Chunsha retreated. The vital energy in his body surged, and with much difficulty, he managed to remove the hidden force. He didn't spit out blood from his injuries. From this, one could see that his martial arts had improved greatly. While he was retreating, the halberd struck once more. Energy formed a net that spread all around, not giving him any chance to breathe at all. After all, the barbarian race general was a Dao realm transformation 3 expert. No matter how strong Gu Chunsha was, he was just a mortal realm martial ancestor, and it was tough for him to block it. Yiming. Gu Chunsha gave the order. Yiming, who was behind him, attacked. He didn't even attack. A few ropes formed from Xiantian energy appeared out of nowhere, wrapping around the halberd and then binding it towards the barbarian race general. In the blink of an eye, the barbarian race general's body froze up, and he was totally restricted by the Xiantian energy. If it was the Xiantian energy of Dao Realm Transformation 6, he could only release it and not retract it. The barbarian race general could still dodge it, but the 7 transformation energy was a combination of strength and gentleness. It could be retracted and released at will, and it was as quick as lightning. How could he be his match? One was at the 3 transformation, and the other was at the 7 transformation. The difference was just too huge, so it was only natural that he would be captured in one move. The barbarian race general hollered in rage and wanted to struggle, but Gu Chunsha stabbed his eyes. The blade entered his brain and destroyed his brain, instantly killing him. It was just so simple. Even Copperskin Ironbone's realm had a weakness, and the eyes were the obvious weakness. But this barbarian race general was covered in armor, and his weakness had been removed. But when Yiming attacked, the armor on his head was lifted, allowing Gu Chunsha to kill him in one strike. The moment he killed the barbarian race general, the sun-moon altar rang out. A large ball of blood and a strong soul floated up. It was much stronger than the 4 old demons. Who knew how many sins the barbarian race general had committed, and he was the closest to evil gods. Killing him was the same as helping the heavens get rid of the virus. If one sacrificed him, one would obtain huge rewards. Although there was no good or evil in heaven and earth, there was order. Evil gods were the ones who destroyed order, and they were like the virus on the heavens. Helping the heavens to wipe out demons was the same as helping the heavens to cure diseases. Gu Chunsha realized that when he killed tigers and wolves to absorb their strength, it was a bad idea. Killing demons and monsters to obtain Sky Dew was the best plan. For example, if he used his own blood to kill the barbarian race general, he would probably explode from the other party's strength, and not even his corpse would be left. Why not use the grass to light the lamp to obtain large amounts of Sky Dew? Master, the barbarian marshal's armor is called the Desolate Beast armor. It has been tempered hundreds and thousands of times, and has also been blessed by the sacrificial rites of the temple for at least 60 years. It has a spiritual nature and is extremely mysterious. It is not below the hornless dragon armor. It is a rare treasure. Also, his heavenly halberd is made of shin steel and scarlet iron. It has also been blessed by incantations and is priceless. The barbarian army retreated. They retreated. The soldiers roared. As expected, with the death of the barbarian race general, the barbarian army completely collapsed and scattered. Don't chase. Gu Chunsha ordered, take inventory of the treasures first. Half of the county had been destroyed, but there were still many places that were intact. There were things left behind by the barbarian soldiers everywhere. The reason why he did not chase was because he had too few men. The entire mountain was filled with barbarian soldiers, and there was no way to chase after them. The barbarian race not only transported soldiers and horses through the teleportation portal, they also transported large amounts of wealth. If he could obtain the majority of the wealth, he would not be short of money for the construction of his mansion. Master, I know where the recently transported items are stored. Yiming immediately reported. All of you, set up defenses outside the county and prepare to receive the incoming army. Everyone obeyed Gu Chencha's orders. Shirtai knew that Gu Chunsha was going to search for treasures, but he did not care. This was a very normal thing to do. Even if a prince only had a small salary every year, it was barely enough to feed the family and socialize. It was impossible to live without a windfall. A prince was not like an ordinary person. He had at least a few hundred people in his mansion. There were servants, housekeepers, maids, soldiers, and guards. Every move he made required money. If he had to raise his trusted aides, raise his own men, cultivate, make friends with officials, build a mansion, and buy a manor, he would have to spend all the gold and silver. The key was that Shirtai knew that Gu Chunsha was a prince with a poor foundation. He had nothing. To put it bluntly, even a local tyrant from a wealthy place would be richer than him. Everyone, do not get close to the center of the county. Defend the outer perimeter and collect the tools left behind by the barbarian soldiers. Shirtai ordered. The other soldiers nodded in understanding. Gu Chunsha and Yiming walked to the center of the destroyed temple. There were huge broken stone walls and pillars everywhere. The storage room is here. Yiming pointed beneath the ruins. This place was buried by large stones. Even if there were thousands of people, they would need a few days and nights to clear out. But Yiming used his Xiantian earth energy, and it was like many invisible hands. He cleared it out in an hour. The first 6 transformations of Dao Realm are purely about destruction. Only at the 7th transformation, the Xiantian earth energy has many changes. Using it to build, one person can do more than 1,000. Only now did Gu Chunsha know how strong the 7 transformations were. The underground storage room appeared. It was really deep, and there were many pearls embedded within. One could see many giant boxes. The storage room Master obtained last time was just a temporary transfer station. The real storage room is underground. If I didn't know how to open it, no one would know. Many of the resources here were obtained by Great Wei Dynasty from trading with us. Yiming knew everything. Okay, monitor the area and don't let anyone get close. Gu Chunsha jumped down and noticed that it was a giant storage room. There were 3 to 5 times more resources than the rewards. He didn't open the boxes and just sent them into the Sun-Moon altar. The altar space was able to store these things. After the last sacrifice, although it didn't turn into the true Sun-Moon altar and was still in its embryonic form, the space was much bigger. Once the thousands of boxes were placed into the altar space, Gu Chunsha entered once more and lit up the grass to sacrifice. This time he killed many barbarian soldiers, generals, and generals. They were all blood balls and souls. All of them were sacrificed and the dew fell like rain. Chapter 66. Although the wealth in the 1,000 chests had not been calculated, it was estimated to be more than 10 million. Such a huge amount of wealth. Although it could not be compared to the savings of those aristocratic families for 100 years, or even 1,000 years, it was not something that ordinary tycoons could compare to. Of course, if he did not have the sun and moon altar space to store the wealth quickly, it would be difficult for him to eat all of it. At that time, there would definitely be princes fighting for it in the name of the imperial court. Now, he could only pretend that he did not know, and no one could investigate. However, although he had made a fortune, he was not satisfied because the expenses in the future would not be small. First, he had to pay for the training of these 243 warriors. In the future, they would have their own families, marry, and have children, and set up their own businesses. Apart from that, he had to provide for and reward them. Apart from that, he had to pay for the training, weapons, and salaries. Among the aristocratic families, the real warriors did not need to do chores. They practiced martial arts every day and carried out their master's missions. They even had servants to serve them. If they were real experts, they would have their own manners. They were completely upper-class people. Raising such an armored soldier would cost at least several thousand yuan every year, which was equivalent to several thousand taels of silver. This did not include the rewards. As for Liu Yu and the other four, after Gu Qinsha returned, he would definitely give them houses and small manors, so that they could have their own businesses. This was the rule of the aristocratic families. Only by giving them land and manors could they show that they were loyal and unshakable. They could not betray him. If they betrayed him, they would be despised by others and would never be able to raise their heads again. After everything was prepared, Gu Qinsha jumped up from the ground and said, "Yiming, from now on, you just have to be honest and hide your strength. Do not show yourself and do not expose yourself." Yes, Yiming hid his aura and was no different from the 243 warriors. As expected, in less than 2 days, countless cavalrymen appeared on the main road. They were like angry dragons, raising a cloud of dust into the sky. The hundreds of people at the front all had an imposing aura. The one at the front was wearing a cloak, but not armor. He wore a purple gold crown and rode on a huge golden horse. It was the third prince, Gufasha. The huge golden horse was covered in scales and had horns on its head. It was even more spirited than the barbarian marshal's thunder beast. Surround the county and search them one by one. Take out all of your belongings and don't hide them. Anyone who does will be killed without mercy. When they arrived outside the county, the third prince issued a murderous order. Gu Qinsha, Shirtai, and the others' expressions changed when they heard it. It was obvious that the third prince was warning them not to keep it for themselves. Lao San is so domineering. Gu Qinsha sneered, "But I've already predicted this move. Go ahead and search. All your efforts will be in vain." He had risked his life to kill the enemy and conquer the county. The third prince Gavasha had arrived just in time to collect the wealth. Gufan Shah was originally afraid of the barbarian tribe oracles and did not send out his troops. Now that there was no danger, he came to reap the fruits of his labor. Although this kind of behavior was despicable, it was the custom of the bureaucracy. The soldiers immediately rushed into the county like wolves and tigers. They did not care about Shirtai and Gu Qinsha, who were resting nearby, and began to search everywhere. Ha! The third prince Gavasha laughed loudly as he entered the city and walked towards Gu Qinsha. The soldiers around him vaguely surrounded the 1,000 people, not allowing them to move. "Lao Jiao, you really know how to take advantage of others. When Tao County exploded, you immediately rushed over and actually obtained the credit of reclaiming Tao County." As soon as he said this, Gu Qinsha knew that the third prince was very sinister. He said that his actions were taking advantage of others. The meaning behind his words was also very clear. After the explosion, the barbarian army retreated, and then he reclaimed Tao County. However, he did not argue with the third prince. It was meaningless. In any case, as long as he handed over the barbarian marshal's corpse, it would be a peerless achievement. The title of prefecture king would not be able to escape. Gu Qinsha did not care, but his subordinates were not convinced. They were very angry. However, he had instructed them to only follow orders, so they did not move. "Lao Jiao, your subordinate is not simple. He even has the horn dragon armor. Even I don't have such armor. Gavash's eyes turned sharp. I heard that Marquis Jusher gave you 300 sets. You don't have many subordinates right now. Why don't you lend the extra to me? I'll equip the soldiers and prevent them from getting injured in the battle with the barbarian army. For the soldiers' lives, Laugio, you won't be so stingy, right? Third brother, what are you saying? Marquis Jusher also lent me 300 sets, but not as many as 300. Right now, only 200 sets are just enough. After the battle, I still have to return them to Marquis Jusher. Where'd I find the extra to lend to third brother? Guchinsha would not admit it even if he was beaten to death. He sneered in his heart. This Gavasha was starting to make things difficult for him and was pressing him step by step. However, he would not be fooled. Shirtai, is what Lord 19 said true? Gavasha looked at Shirtai. Reporting to Third Master, everything is according to the Marquis' orders. This general is only here to serve and kill the enemy. Shirtai was a shrewd man. He knew what he could say and what he couldn't. His words were as hard as steel. Gufan Shah's expression was cold as he looked Shirtai up and down. He had always had the power to decide who lived and who died. Even the viceroy was sweating and trembling under his gaze. Shirtai was calm and neither servile nor overbearing. Good. Shirtai, I order you to immediately lead the army and attack T County. Attack the barbarians there. Gavasha suddenly ordered, I'll be there at any time. You'll be the vanguard. Reporting to Third Master, before I came, the Marquis said to listen to Lord 19th's orders. Shirtai was still stubborn. What did you say? Say it again. Gavasha narrowed his eyes. This general will listen to Lord 19th's orders, Shirtai said loudly. Good, very good. Men. Gavasha raised his voice. His murderous aura and authority made the people around him not dare to breathe. Third brother, why are you so angry? Marquis Jusher's orders are like a mountain. Shirtai doesn't dare to disobey. Guchen Shah said, since third brother wants us to go to T County, then I'll lead my men there. We're all working for the imperial court. There's no need to be estranged. Shirtai, pass on my orders. Pack up and set off for T County. Yes. Shirtai was like a wooden puppet, obediently carrying out the order. Third brother, I'll leave now. Peach County will be guarded by you. Guchen Shah led his men out of Peach County. They were surrounded tightly, but when the general saw Shirtai and his men coming, he couldn't help but look at Gavasha, wondering if he should stop them. Gavasha frowned and thought for a moment. Old 19, if you advance rashly and delay the battle, no matter how great your previous contributions are, they will be erased. Third brother, I understand. Guchen Shah nodded. Gavasha waved his hand. The surrounding soldiers opened up a path for Guchensh's men to pass through, and then they galloped towards T County. Third Master, why did you let him go so easily? A trusted general asked. No matter what, we have to get those 300 sets of horn dragon armor. That's Marquis Jusher's gift to Rope and Old 19. Taking it openly will be criticized. Moreover, Marquis Jusher's things aren't that easy to take. Gavasha watched the group leave. I purposely bullied him just now to see Old 19's trump card, to see if he dares to talk back to me. He killed the 4 old demons and conquered Peach County, so he definitely has powerful reinforcements. However, he purposely showed weakness and didn't have any fear in his heart. This made me feel confident, so I let him go. Your Highness, I quickly searched the surroundings and didn't find any treasures, only many sabers, swords, and leather armor left behind by the barbarian soldiers. At this time, the general who had been ordered to search for treasures came. Your Highness, we found an underground treasury, but it's empty. It seems like it's been moved away. Another person came to report. What? Gavasha was slightly shocked. I let Old 19 go so easily because of this treasury. I've already received intelligence that the barbarian army transported a lot of resources to be stored here. Old 19 didn't take anything with him when he left. I've been monitoring these 2 days, and it's impossible for him to have transported all the resources away. Why is it gone now? Your Highness, it's really gone. A few subordinates had ugly expressions. They wanted to get rich, but it was a pity that this place was empty. There are at least tens of millions of treasures here, and there are also many rare treasures that money can't buy. How could they disappear for no reason? Gavash's face was ashen. What's going on? Are you sure old 19 didn't move a lot of treasures? Third Master, I'm sure. A general knelt on one knee. Our spies are everywhere. Without a team of thousands of people, there is no way to transport this wealth. He doesn't even have enough people right now. This wealth is packed in thousands of large boxes, and each box needs 5 or 6 people to carry it. It even needs a cart to transport it. There are no signs of wheels here, so His Highness couldn't have touched it. This matter is a little strange. Did the barbarians bring this wealth back when they retreated? Impossible. That transportation gate can't go back. It's a one-way transportation. Gavasha paced. Also, where did the divine emissary and marshal go? Did they all die in the explosion? It's really strange. Old 19 is very strange. Third Master, what do we do now? A few generals gathered around, waiting for this Highness's orders. Send people to keep an eye on old 19. There must be something strange about him leaving so easily. Gavash's murderous aura was terrifying. This wealth can't fall into anyone's hands. With this wealth, I can do many things. At this time, deep in the forest, Guchinch's troops were resting. They didn't go to T County, but went into the mountains to rest. 19th Master, are we not going to listen to His Highness's orders? Sure, Tai asked. Old Third wants to order me around? It won't be that easy. Gu Chunsha deliberately said this. He knew that Marquis Dusher and the Third Prince were fighting. If he appeared more forceful in front of Sure Tai, it would be easier to gain Marquis Dusher's support. Old Third came in such a hurry to obtain the wealth left behind by the barbarians. Unfortunately, it's like drawing water with a bamboo basket. Sure Tai was also very puzzled. He hadn't seen Gu Chunsha obtain any wealth. He was a smart man and wouldn't ask about the secret. He would just go back and report it to Marquis Dusher. That was enough. 19th Master, what should we do next? Chapter 67. I kept a long time ago. Gu Chunsha acted mysteriously. If Third Brother sees it, he will take it and say that he killed it. When that happens, I won't be able to argue with him in the Imperial Court. 19th Master is really scheming. I am impressed. So, should we just stay in the mountain? Sure, Tai Tai asked. The team and I will train in the mountains for a few days. You lead the team back to report to Dashi Marquis that I understand his intentions. Gu Chunsha felt that although Sure Tai Tai was on his side, after all, he was on Dashi Marquis' side. It wasn't good for them to know too many secrets. He had many plans for entering the forest, such as hunting tigers and wolves to refine tiger wolf pills for his subordinates to consume. That way, he could create a bunch of strong warriors and even martial arts masters. Apart from that, he also had to cultivate. Even though he had obtained huge benefits, obtained huge amounts of wealth, trained his troops, and even subdued the barbarian race emissary who was at the 7th transformation of the Tao realm as his servant, in reality, these were all external things. His cultivation was still at the mortal realm grandmaster, and if he didn't increase his cultivation, it was all just an illusion. He was really clear about his weakness. It was that he started too late. Any prince would cultivate from a young age, and their foundations were really firm. He had only cultivated for a year, and although he had a fortuitous encounter, his cultivation wasn't something that could be done in a day. Apart from that, he lacked a good teacher and had to figure things out on his own. At most, he would ask Long Yuyan for some pointers, but he didn't dare to reveal too many secrets. Now, the barbarian race Envoy Yi Ming was the best teacher. This person had reached Tao Realm 7 transformation and was definitely a top expert. He was in charge of the God Temple and had even communicated with evil gods and knew many of their secrets. Be it knowledge or experience, he was top-notch. If one asked him for pointers and dug out all of his knowledge, one would be able to enrich one's martial arts and might even be able to break through to Tao Realm. Sure, Tai Tai knew his place and knew that Gu Chunsha had a secret to do. After discussing for an hour, he led the troops and left. The forest became silent. Let's continue to venture deeper into the mountains to cultivate. There will be no one to look for then. The remaining 243 people, including Lu Yu and the other four, all obeyed the order. Originally, marching through the mountains was extremely dangerous. The air was damp and miasma was everywhere. Snakes, insects, rats, and ants were everywhere. The reason why the great Yonko army was unable to attack the barbarians was because the barbarian lands were filled with dangerous forests. The forests were ancient and primitive. Once you entered, you would not be able to come out. Not to mention other things, the densely packed poisonous mosquitoes, poisonous leeches, and blood-sucking insects could bite an expert to death. And now, everyone in Gu Chincha's army was wearing the horned dragon armor. Their entire bodies were wrapped tightly without any gaps. Not even water vapor could enter, let alone poisonous mosquitoes and blood-sucking bugs. Furthermore, this armor could keep them warm, protect them from the cold, and filter out poisonous miasma. They could lie down anywhere and rest. This armor was equivalent to completely isolating their bodies from the outside world. With this armor, any tents, bedding, all kinds of supplies, and even horses could be discarded. One had to know that when this armor ran, its speed would be much faster than a horse. If there were horses, then they would have to prepare fodder for the horses and prevent them from getting sick at any time. It was much more troublesome than taking care of people. The annual cost of feeding a high-grade warhorse was more than the cost of eating and drinking for 10 commoners. However, this armor only needed to bask in the sun and absorb sunlight. The more the army marched, the more Gu Chansha felt that this horned dragon armor was the true weapon of the army. It's a pity that there isn't much heavenly dew. Otherwise, I would be able to evolve the horned dragon armor. Gu Chansha led the army for half a day and arrived at a real dense forest. There was no path forward, and they had to advance by stepping on thorns. At this time, the benefits of the horned dragon armor were revealed. The path was flat. Even sharp blades and swords could not harm this armor, not to mention the thorns and poisonous thorns. When they arrived at a lake, the 248 people stopped to rest. Everyone took out a blood-strengthening pill and consumed it. All of you train here and train your martial arts. Think about how Dashi Marquis's army has been fighting these few days. I have something to do with Yiming. Gu Chansha instructed. He and Yiming hid in the forest. With Yiming's ability to fly, his range of activity had greatly increased. He quickly flew through hundreds of miles of forest, and his speed in finding tigers and wolves was also extremely fast. In less than a day, he had caught hundreds of fierce tigers and wolves and refined hundreds of tiger-wolf pills. Huff, huff. Yiming started to pant. The two of them slowly landed on the mountain. Yiming, are your injuries not healed? Gu Chansha asked. Master, on the one hand, my injuries have not healed, and on the other hand, flying consumes a lot of Xiantian energy. Even if I am at Tao Realm Transformation 7, I won't fly unless I have no choice. The higher I fly, the faster I am, and the more Xiantian energy is consumed. Even if I cultivate the Maha Hell Suppression Scripture, I can't fly anymore. Yiming panted as he spoke. He was a Tao Realm Transformation 7 expert, but he actually started to pant. One could see that he was really close to death. So that is the case. The Xiantian energy of Tao Realm Transformation 7 has a huge limit. Gu Chansha observed and noticed many things. Xiantian energy is stored to fight enemies. Using it to fly is just too wasteful. Yiming said everything he knew. If I didn't cultivate the Maha Hell Suppression Scripture and cultivated something else, I would have died long ago. This is a drop of heaven dew. Consume it, and you will be able to recover quickly. You will also be able to replenish your energy. Gu Chansha gave Yiming 3 drops of heaven dew. Yiming immediately knelt down and was overjoyed. Thank you, Master. With the heavenly dew, not only can I recover from my injuries, but I can also get rid of the evil spirit and evil aura in my body, turning over a new leaf. At the same time, I can cultivate the Maha Suppression Scripture and have hope of breaking through. Breakthrough. Gu Chansha was shocked and nearly retracted the heaven dew. Ming broke through, causing the samadhi true flame to appear in his body. After refining the talisman, he would die. He asked, "How long will it take for you to break through?" So, because of the restriction of the evil god, I need to cultivate another technique. I need at least 60 years to break through. Now, I only need 10 years, but I hope that Master can give me more heaven dew. If I have 1,000 drops, then I will have the confidence to break through in 10 years. If Master doesn't give me heaven dew, then I will still need 60 years. Ming wouldn't lie. That is good. Gu Chensha heaved a sigh of relief. 10 years was okay. Even 3 to 5 years was enough for him to develop. It seemed like he had to give Ming less heaven dew in the future and just let him maintain his current cultivation. After consuming 3 drops and resting for an hour, Ming's injuries were totally healed. His Xiantian earth energy was full, and he was filled with energy. "Master, I have fully recovered. What should I do next? Just give me pointers. I need to digest all the battle experience I gained and settle it down." Gu Chensha had thought about it long ago. "Yes, Master," Ming said. "With the Maha Prison Suppression Scripture as the core, I know thousands of righteous and evil martial arts, and have guided thousands of barbarian martial arts grandmasters. Among them, there are dozens of barbarians who have broken through to the Tao realm. Master, I can see through your current situation. You seem to be cultivating the giant spirit divine art, but in reality, you are cultivating a secret art that is countless times more profound. Your technique is even above the Maha Prison Suppression Scripture." Your guess is right. Gu Chensha wasn't surprised. With Ming's foresight, it was normal for him to be able to see through it. But he couldn't tell him about the Son of Heaven God sealing technique. There were as many techniques in the world as there was sand, but there was one that wasn't that shocking. With Master's strength, in terms of fighting, you can fight against 9 bulls and 2 tigers who are at the second transformation and even win. This is because the first transformation is mainly to absorb spiritual energy. The second transformation is just to increase strength. With these 2 transformations, you can still be killed by normal swords and blades. The third transformation is different. If Master faces him, he won't be his match. Ming dissected the cultivation realm. If Master just cultivated the Great Spirit God technique, you would have broken through to Tao realm. But because you cultivated such a high-level technique, you weren't able to break through. The higher the technique, the harder it is to break through. But after breaking through, one's achievements will be higher. Master still lacks martial arts foundations, and the martial Tao isn't perfect. In other words, you don't have a deep comprehension of the Tao. Go on, I'm listening. Gu Chensha listened very carefully. This world is formed by multiple parallel universes. It's so complicated that it's hard to calculate. In the ancient gods' divine scripture, it's called multivariate. Each spacetime has its own unique nature. The one we're in is called the material spacetime. It can also be called the color world, or even the true world, which means that it's the real world. The air we breathe doesn't have spiritual qi. Spiritual qi doesn't exist in our world, but it's easily affected by our world and leaked out. Look, Ming waved his hand, and immediately, many stones flew over and arranged themselves according to a strange array formation. He was cutting and cutting. At the same time, he carved some talismans on the stones. 2 hours later, he built a small garden. In the end, he plucked a large tree and cut it into wood. He stabbed it into the ground. There seemed to be a small whirlwind blowing in the garden. Master, try walking into the garden, Ming told him. Gu Chensha walked in and felt refreshed. The air in this temporary garden seemed to be especially fresh. It was relaxing, and even the soil smelled fragrant. "This is the spirit gathering formation?" Gu Chensha asked. "That's right. I'm using the technique of civil construction to trigger the feng shui, causing the magnetic poles of the sky and earth to distort. This will slightly affect the space-time, allowing the spiritual qi to leak down from another space-time. However, this array is too simple and crude. If there's a slight problem, the magnetic poles will disperse." Ming casually kicked a stone, and the refreshing feeling in the small garden dissipated. There are many ways to set up a spirit gathering formation. Some are big, some are small, and the effects are different. Furthermore, in some places, the natural terrain of the mountains and the earth veins are powerful spirit gathering formations. That place will produce generations of talented people. This is the case with the spirit of the land. Everything is the effect of the spirit energy. And Ming concluded, I said so much to tell Master that the Tao realm is not martial arts. No matter how many battles you have with others, it is just an increase in martial arts experience. The Tao realm is the understanding of the geography of the mountains and rivers, the rules of the universe, the fluctuations of the airflow, the changes of the magnetic poles, and the movement of the sun and moon. If not, you can't connect spiritual energy into your body. Chapter 68. You are so knowledgeable, and you don't belong to our great Yonko. Do barbarians have a civilization? Guqinsha was curious. Logically speaking, barbarians didn't have much of a culture and were still a primitive tribe. Of course we do, but because of the evil god's guidance, we walked a different path. Yiming thought about it, and a conflicted expression appeared on his face. Now that I no longer believe in the evil god, I can see it clearly. The evil god is actually using us barbarians as slaves to kill in the material world for him to obtain the souls he needs. Without the evil god, we barbarians can also build a dynasty like yours. That's right. This is the work of evil gods. But there is nothing we can do. Humans can't resist gods, especially you barbarians. Your faith is deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Gu Qinsha was delighted. Yiming had such thoughts, and in the future, he might really change. In the future, when Master builds a residence, I can be in charge of building a true spirit gathering formation. I can let the entire residence be filled with spiritual energy and not leak it. Yiming was a construction expert and was in charge of building temples. To be able to reach Tao Realm Transformation 7, he definitely wasn't a simple person. Gu Qinsha learned about the spirit gathering path from him and listened to him talk about the changes in wind, water, and magnetism. He also listened to his understanding and comprehension of the Tao realm, as well as the experiences of many barbarian race experts. He even heard about many martial arts in the Maha Hell Suppression scripture. He compared it to the Great Spirit God technique and the Son of Heaven sealing God technique to come up with a systematic cultivation method. In a daze, he felt like the world had shrunk and he had become bigger. Time flowed really quickly and all sorts of knowledge floated about. It wasn't messy and was instead really coordinated like a clear spring flowing in his heart. Unknowingly, 3 days and 3 nights passed, and he was totally immersed in learning. When he woke up from it, he didn't feel tired at all. He circulated his vital energy and breathed in and out. His blood surged like a river and instantly flowed around his body. Each inch of his flesh and blood was soft like cotton and tough like iron. He had a new understanding of the sun and moon refinement and sun and moon transformation. Master, you've benefited greatly. I can even sense the changes and entanglement of your blood and qi. It's vast but not turbulent, like the sun and moon hanging eternally in the sky. This type of cultivation method is truly miraculous. Yiming was also feeling it carefully, occasionally giving some pointers. I don't think the Maha Prison Suppression scripture is an unorthodox path. On the contrary, it's a path of subduing devils. It's an inclusive mind that suppresses the devils of hell. I've read the scripture in detail, and I think it's very much in line with the legalist path of punishing evil. Gu Qinsha asked for advice again. The Maha God can be both righteous and evil. In the legends, he was the god that suppressed hell, as well as the king of all the demons and evil gods in hell. Thus, the Maha Suppression scripture has both righteous and evil, and it's difficult to distinguish them. It's the same for those who cultivate this scripture. If they want to become a demon or an immortal, they can do it according to their own will. And Ming explained, however, there are 3 volumes to this scripture. With my cultivation, I can only cultivate the first volume. The other 2 volumes are even more profound and are not something I can come into contact with. What is the cultivation of that barbarian king, Carlo? Guchen Shah thought back to the barbarian king who had come through the teleportation formation. He has reached the 12th Tao realm transformation, the soul-seizing realm. Everywhere he goes, everyone within 10 miles will be controlled by his spiritual sense and become his subordinates. This is his trump card to deal with the Yonko army. Yiming said, above the 9th Tao realm is the cultivation of the soul, spiritual sense, and mental energy. The 10th Tao realm is to split one's mind into 1,000 parts and do different things without conflicting. At this Tao realm, one's calculations are so strong that it is inconceivable. This is why one needs the glass jade body's brain to support it. If one doesn't cultivate the glass jade body, the brain won't be able to take it, and it will be tough for one to do 10 things at once. One might even become an idiot. As for the 11th transformation, soul, tentacle, thousands of thoughts will spread out from your body to sense the situation around. It will be much clearer than seeing with one's own eyes. One will be able to see through space and even observe the structure of matter. This is something that Xiantian earth energy can't do. The 13 transformations, soul snatching, was when thousands of tentacles and thoughts were born and entered someone else's body, suppressing their thoughts and controlling their body. When one reaches this Tao realm, one will be really terrifying when walking in the human world. Soul tentacle, soul seizing realm. These 2 moves are really terrifying and can be blocked. Gu Chun Sha was shocked. As long as one's realm is lower than his, he doesn't even need to look at you. Within 10 miles, he can suppress your thoughts and turn you into his puppet. Xiantian earth energy is something that has form and can be avoided and blocked. However, soul power is something that one can't defend against at all. Right? There are many levels of strength. Below the 5th Tao realm, one uses the brute strength of the body. From a 6th to the 11th Tao realm, one uses Xiantian earth energy, which is internal strength. At the 12th transformation, it is God power, brute strength, internal strength, spirit, the soul, the mind. Yiming explained in detail, this is like how the ancients used stone tools, then bronze tools, and then iron tools. Each time, there will be a fundamental change. I'm already familiar with the various changes from mortal realm to Tao realm. I also know how to use the vibrations of the magnetic poles to cause the spiritual energy in the spiritual world to leak down. To put it bluntly, if one wants to step into Tao realm, one needs to vibrate their vital energy, coordinate their breathing, and form a feng shui formation within the body to strengthen the penetrating power of the magnetic poles. This will cause spiritual energy to be absorbed into the body and fuse with vital energy to strengthen the body and open up hundreds of acupoints. Gu Chen Sha totally understood. After learning and comprehending, his heart was crystal clear. He had deduced the changes from mortal realm to Tao realm and was extremely familiar with it. At this moment, he felt that Tao realm wasn't far from him. He was just lacking that thin layer of window paper. Once the opportunity arrived, he would be able to break it. Right, Master has already understood everything, so there is no more confusion or hesitation. This is good for cultivation, but Master needs to be careful. You can't use heaven dew randomly. This item has the ability to steal the power of heaven and earth. In the future, when you step into Tao realm, absorb spiritual energy and then use heaven dew. The 2 will combine and your cultivation speed will be 10 times faster. Heaven dew strengthens everything and can bestow spirituality to anything. Yiming pointed out once more, the first transformation of the Tao realm is to absorb spiritual energy and accumulate it. This requires 5 to 8 years of diligent training day and night. After that, your body will change and you will reach the 2nd transformation, the realm of 9 bulls and 2 tigers. However, if Master uses the heavenly dew to neutralize the spiritual energy You will only need 8 to 10 days to reach the second transformation. After that, you will be able to reach the third transformation in a year, the fourth transformation in 3 years, and the fifth transformation in 5 years. The effects of the heavenly dew are far more than that. There are so many uses for heaven dew. Guchan Shah felt it was a pity. In order to evolve the hornless dragon armor, he wasted a total of 400 drops of heavenly dew. It was not worth it at all. Alright, I also obtained a law-breaker immortal sword. How do I obtain it? Guchan Shah wore the horn dragon armor and reached out. A silver fish-like celestial sword appeared in his hand. The celestial sword appeared from the sun, moon, altar, and instantly gave off a majestic aura. It charged into the sky and was about to fly out. Even Gu Chinch's body was dragged up. Luckily, Yiming was there. He grabbed with both hands, and Xiantian energy turned into a bubble that wrapped the celestial sword within. The celestial sword struggled, but it was unable to break free from the suppression of a Tao realm transformation 7 expert. This sword is amazing. Shock appeared on Yiming's face. The spiritual energy in its body isn't enough, and it only has 10% of its usual strength. If it is full, even I won't be able to suppress it. The reason why our barbarian race couldn't occupy Xian dynasty was because we had no other choice. Law-breaking, 5-sword combination, along with the 10,000 law through heaven formation, gathered together to form a giant sword formation. It was enough to kill the barbarian emperor. But after the 5 celestial swords form the formation, the spiritual energy within will be used up. We will need 100 years of accumulation before we can form it a second time. So that is the case. Guchan Shah said, I heard people from the Chun family say that Grand Tutor Wenhong is about to reach the 27th Tao realm transformation. When the time comes, he will retract the sword. Who knows if it is true or not? It is most probably true. Grand Tutor Wenhong is a shocking person and cultivates the 10,000 star flying celestial technique. He also obtained the corpse of an ancient god and merged it into his body, increasing his cultivation by 1,000 years. This is a huge miracle, which is why he is so much stronger than normal people. Yiming was still suppressing the law-breaking celestial sword. This sword has his mark, and there is no way to subdue it, unless there is someone at a higher realm than him. But where can I find such a person? Unless it is great young heaven talisman Emperor Gu Taxian. He can refine it with a flick of his finger. Of course, if I use Maha's sacrifice to kill living beings and use its power, I might be able to wipe out Wenhong's mark. Sacrifice? Gu Qinsha suddenly thought about it. Why don't I find a way to sacrifice Maha God? If I sacrifice the Heaven Tao, it will be easy to wipe out Grand Tutor Wenhong's mark. But I haven't found a way to do it from the ancient books. Yiming, you are also one of the higher-ups of the barbarian race. Do you know how strong my father is? We are going to wage a huge war against the barbarian race, and we are facing the evil god. Do you think we have a chance of winning? Actually, this was what Gu Chansha cared about the most. Chapter 69. But he still knew who was right and who was wrong in this matter. Before the Heavenly Talisman Emperor, hundreds of countries were divided and fought with each other. There were wars every year, floods and droughts were natural disasters. Bandits and evil devils robbed and killed people. Many sects also recruited disciples and eliminated dissidents. They disrupted the rules of etiquette, and the world was in chaos. In the past 10 years, the Heavenly Talisman Dynasty had abundant food and clothing. Bandits were wiped out and sects were destroyed. Poetry and literature flourished, and the culture was vast. 10 years ago, the commoners in many places were considered wealthy. There were even places that ate grass, tree bark, and soil to death. There were also places that traded their children for food and ate humans and corpses. There were starving people on the roads and floating corpses in the water. 10 years later, no matter how poor a family was, they would still have rice and noodles. The slightly more powerful country gentlemen's families would have meat for every meal. Even the servants would be able to touch meat, and their faces would be flushed red. As for the rich families, they would have ginseng, bird's nest, abalone, ginseng, wing, and stomach. All kinds of energy-nourishing ingredients would be consumed in large quantities. Not to mention the rich and noble families. They consumed large amounts of spirit pills and medicines. 10 years ago, many people couldn't travel far. Even if they were tens or hundreds of miles away from home, they would still tremble in fear of being killed by bandits. But now that the waterways were developed, everyone could travel far. The scholars could even travel with their swords and enjoy the scenery. Gu Chansha even heard that the Celestial Designer Institute was researching something called the Steel Railway. It used steel to pave the ground, extending in all directions. But he didn't know what it was. Along the way, he gained a lot of knowledge. Even the small town that Lu Yu and the other four lived in was quite prosperous. If it wasn't because of the war between the evil sects, they would be living a happy and peaceful life. The country was flourishing. In another 10 years, it would truly be a golden age. Although Gu Chansha inherited the ancient heavenly talisman edict, in the words of the history books, he had the emperor's fate. But he had his own views. The emperor was a virtuous person. What was virtue? It was to make the world peaceful and the people better. He didn't have the ability or the virtue now. If he had the ability in the future, he would definitely be able to do better than the heavenly talisman emperor. Of course, he wouldn't give way. This was his understanding. Throughout history, there had been countless revolutions and changes of dynasties, all of which were caused by the mismatch of virtue and position. By the way, you mentioned that the Grand Preceptor Wenhong actually obtained the corpse of an ancient god and absorbed it into his body. I also have a skeleton here. Gu Qinsha didn't hide anything. He suddenly made a grabbing motion, and a huge box appeared out of thin air. It was as long as 2 people and 5 feet wide. Master actually has a grotto heaven treasure. No wonder. Yiming had his doubts long ago, and only now did he see it clearly. This is a grotto heaven grade treasure that can form its own grotto heaven. Only experts above Tao Realm 30 can craft it, and it belongs to the God race and Golden Celestial race. Let's not worry about this for now. Gu Chansha was trying to intimidate Yiming. Look at this skeleton. I stole it from your temple. Prince Gu is going to use some heavenly dragon bone changing technique to increase his cultivation. This is a skeleton left by a Tao Realm 9 transformation expert. It contains a lot of power, and after Prince Gu changes his bones, his strength will increase by several times. But it isn't suitable for Master. But this skeleton is really valuable and can be used to decorate the manor and change the magnetic poles. Yiming said, this item contains a strong magnetic pole change. It is something we use to guard the temple. If it is placed in the eye of the formation, the magnetic pole's penetrative power is unparalleled, and it can instantly pierce through the spiritual space-world barrier, causing large amounts of spiritual energy to descend. When the time comes, the people cultivating in Master's Manor will obtain huge benefits. Their cultivation speed will be dozens of times faster than normal people. So that is the case. Then, who knows how many aristocrats dream about this skeleton? Gu Qinsha said this and placed the skeleton into the sun-moon altar space. Apart from that, he also tossed the law-breaking celestial sword in. The law-breaking celestial sword was well-behaved in the altar and didn't move at all. But the moment it left the altar, it charged about like a dragon. Gu Qinsha was annoyed and didn't know how to subdue it. Master, I've already taught you everything I should. You're also familiar with the changes from mortal realm to Tao realm. Next, will you cultivate in the mountain or will you head out? Yiming looked around. The environment had changed, and one didn't know how much time had passed in the mountain. Actually, I like to live in the mountain and cultivate in peace. Unfortunately, there are many things to do, and I have to head out. Gu Qinsha stood up. 3 days and 3 nights allowed his knowledge to increase greatly. But he still needed time to settle down to Tao realm. He felt that if he could cultivate in the mountain for 2 to 3 months, he would definitely be able to step into Tao realm. But time didn't allow for it. Now was the crucial period of the battle with the barbarian race. He could rest in a mountain for a few days, but if he hid and didn't head out, then he would be in huge trouble. Let's go. He returned to the lakeside where the troops were resting. The 248 of them were all training their martial arts. All of them were full of energy, and their martial arts had improved greatly, especially Lu Yu and the other four. Their sword techniques had improved once again. Their Grandmaster aura had become stronger, and they were even showing signs of comprehending martial arts barriers. 19th Master, shall we head out now? Yes, Gu Chensha ordered. The soldiers followed strict military rules and followed behind. They walked quickly and silently towards the outside of the mountain. This time, they were heading towards T County. The explosion in Peach County had caused all the barbarian soldiers to scatter. But there were still many barbarian soldiers in T County and in County. Temples were being built, and there were even barbarian god envoys around. The third prince sent Gu Chensha to scout the way. One was to prevent him from robbing the treasures in Peach County. The other was to let him test the waters and be his sacrificial lamb. Gu Chensha wouldn't fall for it. He swallowed the treasures and entered the mountain to train his troops. The troops were extremely fast and weren't hindered by the forest. Even if there was no road in the primitive forest, they could still travel hundreds of miles in a day. In a day's time, they arrived at the main road near T County. The road was filled with bloodstains. There were also torn leather armors, abandoned arrows, dead horses, and broken swords. It seemed like there had been an intense battle. However, the corpses were gone. Someone had cleaned up the battlefield. Stop! Just as Gu Chensha's troops were nearing, a cavalry scout came from afar and roared. At the same time, a horn sounded. It's not the barbarian soldiers. It's the soldiers of Mayanko. Could it be that T County has been conquered? So fast. Where are the barbarian emissaries and barbarian marshals? Gu Chensha was quick-witted. He roared, "Raise my flag and report your name." Immediately, Lu Yu and the other four raised Duke Chen's flag and shouted, "We are the 19th Highness. We are Duke Chen's troops. Who are you? Please wait. I will go report." The leader of the cavalry scout immediately went back. After an hour, he came back and shouted, "Imperial Envoy Princess Yu Fu invites 19th Highness to the county. Lu Baiwei is here." She was the one who defeated them? Gu Chensha was slightly stunned. He didn't say much and led his men into the county. The county was intact, but the ground was still stained with bloodstains. The temple was also built majestically, comparable to a palace. Gu Chensha walked in and saw many soldiers along the way. There were sentries every few steps. Some of them were even wearing horn dragon armor. Every soldier's essence, chi, and spirit were complete. Those wearing horn dragon armor are Lu Baiyue's soldiers. The rest should be 3rd Prince or 10th Prince's soldiers. He observed secretly and walked into the temple. As expected, there were many people in the temple. Sitting in the middle were Lu Baiwei, 10th Prince Gu Jinsha, and 3rd Prince Gu Fasha. Seeing Gu Chensha enter, 3rd Prince slammed the table. 19th Prince, you delayed the battle. You deserve to be punished. I asked you to be the vanguard to attack T County. Where did you go? You fled at the last moment. According to the military law, desertion is punishable by death. If a prince breaks the law, he will be punished the same as a commoner. Princess Yuefu, you are the imperial envoy. You have the token of my presence, which is equivalent to the presence of my father. Faced with such a situation, you have to do something, the 10th Prince said darkly. Men, carry the barbarian race 9-star general's corpse up. Gu Chensha expected such a situation and clapped his hands. A few of his subordinates carried the corpse of the barbarian marshal, which was almost as tall as 2 people in. He smiled and said, "Everyone, when I was leading the troops to attack T County, I happened to encounter the barbarian marshal and his army who had come to reinforce Peach County. Thus, I fought with all my might and finally managed to kill the barbarian army. At the same time, I chased after the marshal and chased him for 3 days and 3 nights in the mountains. After several battles, I finally killed him. I've already asked the generals under Marquis Jusher to write a letter to report this matter. I did, but I don't believe it. I have to check it myself." Lu Baiwei walked down and checked the corpse. A weird expression appeared on her face. As expected, it is a barbarian race 9-star general. Dao Realm, Transformation 3, Copper Skin and Iron Bones. You can actually kill him? Lu Baiwen knew that the difference between Dao Realm Transformation 3 and 9 Bulls and 2 Tigers was a huge gap. Although Gu Chansha could kill the 4 old demons, he would still die if he faced the barbarian race 9-star general. The corpse is here. If I didn't kill him, then did he kill himself? Gu Chansha asked. Not only am I not at fault, but I have also done a great service. Princess Uefu will handle this matter fairly and report it to father. Of course. Everyone, sit down. Lu Baiwei glanced around and said, Old 19 has just arrived and is not familiar with the situation. I will repeat myself. The 3 counties have been completely recovered, but 3 barbarian oracles, 2 barbarian marshals, and some backbones have escaped. The rest of the army has been killed by us, and the rest have escaped into the forest. The rest are being chased by masters, but they are not a threat. So, Old 3, Old 10, and Lu Baiwei didn't even kill a single 9-star general? 3 barbarian race messengers. Kikata became Yiming, and the other 2 fled. Gu Qinsha understood that he had contributed the most. Not to mention anything else, just the 4 old demons and the barbarian race 9-star general far exceeded Old 3 and Old 10. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.